comes to class with me just to sit in the back and watch what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't prepare for anything. Like,
because I never like went to college or anything, but I think just as seeing how a college plays out nowadays would just be hilarious.
They're fucking stupid.
It really, here's the thing, and like it's actually I don't give a fuck if this offends you. College, like because I went there older, obviously I was older than most of the 18, 19-year-olds that were there, and they were always like, "This is so hard" and whatever. And I'm like, this is literally one of the easiest things I've done in my adult life. It's fun, it's easy. You know what's expected of you.
Literally get to pick what you want to fucking do.
We literally tell you what to do.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So for the classes, yes, they tell you exactly. Hey, like the history professor that I've always told you about from Greece, he was like, "Here's how my class works. Here's what's expected of you. If you show up, good. If you don't show up, I don't take attendance. But you're gonna fuck yourself because you're not gonna know what to write in the blue book come midterm and final."
That was my policy too.
Yep.
It was I don't care if you show up. Now I did have an attendance policy just because some of the universities that I taught at required it.
Mm-hmm.
But like it was very lenient, and it was basically like you can miss 5 classes and I won't count you off, or 3 classes or whatever.
Yeah.
But like they just wouldn't come, and if they were talking to them, like, look, this is 1 year or 1 semester I taught all high schoolers. So it was like all high schoolers that were in concurrent history classes.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, the class clowns are always a pain in the ass. So I told him basically, I was like, look, I don't like quit fucking around if you're going to show up. But
yeah,
I don't care. I don't care if you're going to be here. Like, if you don't want to be here, don't show up. I'm not going to keep track. Well, this kid then this is why I always keep the attendance policy, even if I don't follow it. It's because this kid then told his parents, like, oh no, they said we didn't have to come. So then the parent emailed like the dean, and the dean talked to me, and he's like, why did you tell them they don't have to be here? I was like, no, here's my attendance policy. It's in the syllabus. I don't know what he's talking about, and the kid anyway, but it's like, I told them flat out, I was like, I don't give a shit I get paid regardless. If y'all are here or not. Like this isn't high school. I'm
just going to say that it's not high school. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get paid if you all graduate.
To give you a passing grade. And also if you, here's the thing is, there were a couple people who didn't show up a lot of times. They'd come and do the midterm and the final, which is the 2 things you're graded on.
Yeah.
They passed it with flying colors. Okay. He didn't give a shit.
Yeah. Off you go. You know the shit, obviously.
But then there were people who were constantly just like, this is so easy. I can just read the books that he recommended. And I'm like, yeah, but what he recommended versus what he actually talks about in his lectures are different.
Well, look, you can make it as easy as you want. It never changes. That I took on, I hated making tests. Like I just hated it. So what I did, and it's been my style, and I'll continue it to this day when I teach undergrads, is I'm not going to make the test. You're going to make the test. So I divide them all. Like, let's say we do, U.S. history since the Civil War. We get to the first test, and we get up to, let's say, World War I. So I break them into groups. I'm like, you guys are going to do Reconstruction. You are Indian Wars. You're the Gilded Age. You're the Progressive Era, and you're World War I. So it's 5 groups.
Yep.
And then I tell them all, you should have all been keeping notes. So you're going to work in your little group, and you're going to come up with 5 terms out of your notes. And then I'm going to put them all together, and that's going to be your study guide. It's going to be 25 terms out of your notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I will make questions based upon those words that you pick. Right? Should be the easiest thing in the world. Right. And my questions aren't hard. They're like, who is the president in World War I? Woodrow Wilson, Abraham Lincoln. I put like Mike Tyson and George Washington.
Yep.
I still had people fail. Like the question.
To be fair, though, Woodrow Wilson's kind of a meh president.
Yeah, well, but my
that's
point.
Besides the point.
Hell, I had one question that was, what is the racial hate group that spawned in Reconstruction? And my 4 options were
the Republicans.
The Ku Klux Klan, the Black Panther Party, the New York Giants, or the Boy Scouts.
I mean, probably all of those to some extent, not going to lie.
Yeah. Okay.
However you feel, only one of them is from the Reconstruction, and I still had people miss it. And I was like, how the
Right.
fuck can you? How?
There's
How
no
can you mess
excuse.
that up?
There really isn't any excuse except they didn't give a fuck. That's the thing is like, there was a big difference when I was in school about 1 and 200 level classes that were, because I went to a private school. So like we had a curriculum that you had to take a certain amount of hard science, math, all this shit, history, and whatever, class counted for this. It was a letter system. It was weird.
Yeah.
And so there was people in these history, like these 1 and 200 level history classes, who were just literally doing it to knock it out of their bullshit program, right?
Yeah, but but mine were online, Mike. They were online tests at home, open book, open note.
Oh, no. But okay, so I understand. I get that. But like, here's the thing is, if you don't give a shit because you don't think you need to, that's what I witnessed a lot in these 1 and 200 level classes is people were just there like, well, this is going to be easy because I can just look everything up in the book. But it's like, that's not, you have to pay attention to what's being said. Because it's not about the micro level details of, this person said this. It's about the overall picture. And most of the questions are based around the overall picture and not you remembering names and dates like we were just talking earlier. That shit's written down for a reason. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to memorize all that shit. That's why it's written down. Your job is to listen to a macro level thing of what happened and all these people's experiences and these documents, blah, blah, and just kind of go, this is what I think happened. And this is why I think it happened or how, that's it. It's that simple. Or like you're saying, multiple choice, like that to me, that's a no brainer. It's like, if you showed up for even half the classes, you're probably going to get about half the questions right on multiple choice.
Mm-hmm. But they will still screw it up every single time.
And it just baffles me because I'm like,
and you got to remember though,
taking the class just because they need like a history credit.
Well, that's the thing. I'm teaching freshmen. They all need it. And I understand them. I mean, I grew up the same way they did. I was in middle school and high school, and a coach was my history teacher every single year. Like, I fully understand that they all don't have an education in history. So I try to make it entertaining, and my tests are very easy. And I don't even assign papers anymore to the freshmen because they don't give a shit.
So, it's a lost cause.
But even then, I had 25% of my class fail.
I mean, I get it. Because like I never went to college for one, horrendously poor. But for two, I would have liked to go if I don't have to take all the shit that would never pertain to what I want to do. Like,
well, it also
awesome. If I wanted to go for history stuff, why do I have to give a fuck about algebra?
Sure, but here's the thing too: is like the thing that I'm trying to say is like when I took shit because I was forced to, that was not relevant. I didn't care about it. I still was able to like have the discipline. Didn't take that much. The discipline to go, okay, I have to give a shit about this for 3 months out of my entire life.
I don't want to though. That costs me money. They're making me pay for a class I don't want to take.
Sure,
I just take the classes I want and then.
But here's the thing: is that's just a building block to your very expensive little piece of paper that you get at the very end of everything.
I don't even know where my 3 pieces of paper are.
I mean, to be fair, I should have went to trade school and just learned how to weld so I can make $500 an hour and work 2 months out of the year.
True that.
So
yeah,
there was a guy I knew. I never really liked him. He was a dick, but he did tell me. Before when I was in high school, he said the only thing that separates people that go to college and doesn't is college determines how hard you're going to work for your money.
Yep.
Because you get trade school and all the people make way more money than we do, right? But they work a lot harder than I do. I give Mike shit all the time when we talk and I'm at work and he's like, well, I'm doing this. And I'm like, I'm not doing shit and I'm getting paid for it. Like,
fair.
This shit's easy.
He went to school initially to trade school for 2 years for welding. And then he went and worked for like 2 years and came back and got a 4-year degree in welding. Eventually, he ended up going to school for 10 years for welding. And he's like a big underwater welder now.
Oh, that shit's rough.
Yeah, he literally makes like $600,000 a year now to work a couple weeks a year. And then the rest of the year, he's off.
Yeah. I it's just that part of it. Like, I've been in school for 10 fucking years. 10 years of work. Make sure you mute yourself, Mike. We can hear you.
No, go honk out a dirt.
Yes. No, we just heard that. We just heard that.
You heard what? This?
You talking.
Right now you can hear me talking?
Yes.
From where?
The fucking I don't know.
We're not fucking there.
Hold
I can hear you.
So I've got my headset muted. Mike, yeah,
We can hear you.
Oh, it's on my webcam. Okay, so this is the. All right, now it should be better.
All right, you're muted.
Oh,
It was-
should have walked with them and been like, we can still hear you.
Yeah, I was like, this is not going to be a fun stream.
Well,
it wouldn't pick that up, but anyway, yeah, I'll be back in a bit.
Gonna go honk out a dirt snake.
Is this a Dragon Man stream? We're determining on if we're going to do Dragon Man, but we are going to talk shit on. The plan is to start kind of doing a few streams every now and then on like how to do history, and the way people should do it, and give some tips and tricks. So
To give
tonight
people
we're
a
gonna
healthy start who are getting into it rather
Yeah.
than having to fuck around and find
and
out.
not end up like Dragon Man.
Yeah.
But we also can talk shit about some of the ridiculous people. So my favorite answer I've ever gotten was I gave a test, and it was an identification question, and it was what was it? The Battle of Little Bighorn. That's what it was.
Yep.
And all I wanted them to say was like General Custer, Sitting Bull, major battle, Custer's 7th Cavalry's wiped out.
Yep. Gun fucked himself, died somewhere in Montana.
Major impetus. It made the U.S. kind of go real hard against the natives. All right. That was all I wanted. And this kid wrote, General Custard and his crew shot themselves. That was his answer.
I'm sure somebody did.
General Custard and his crew shot themselves. So either he believed they all just rode out there and just mass suicide on the hill, or I don't understand.
I mean, it's like those people that believes the Jews killed themselves in the millions just to get Israel during World War II.
That's fair.
So it's like somebody probably believes it.
It was amazing how many you get in the history class that exactly General Custer declare. It was bad. They were always really bad. They didn't pay attention. They didn't understand, and most of it. Yeah, what? No, that fucker failed. He failed my class.
Good.
But a lot of the students, I ask them up front, like, how do you know information? And they're all real shy. I'm like, if you learned it from watching Saving Private Ryan, that gives me a base area to start. Like, it's okay if you learned from a source not historically accurate. At least you've got something to go off.
I tell people that all the time too, because as much as like people like to shit on, like Mike has a whole podcast and stuff where they shit on movies and stuff like that. I'm like, that's where we all started. Usually, is watching those old shitty movies, and thinking they were the coolest thing ever. And now you realize, looking back, that there's a lot wrong with them. But
it gives people an idea,
involved and interested. So
yeah, it's always it's like a give and take. I mean, we've got friends that get real angry with the idea that they didn't do it historically accurate, and they get pissed. I'm like, it got people interested in the topic.
Exactly, it's a starting point. It's also, here's the thing, it's not. I understand the movie's about a historical event, but it's a fucking movie. It's supposed to be entertaining. Nobody wants to hear about like I always talk about how like Jarhead's one of the most historically accurate war movies out there because it shows you all the boring shit. There's hardly any fighting going on. There's a scene where a guy's literally jacking off on a 128-degree porta-john to a Polaroid picture. I'm like, there you go. There's half a deployment right there. And people got upset about that.
I don't know. I personally, I love a good movie, and they're like, well, it's so shitty. I'm like, it was a good movie.
Yeah,
and
I was like, I mean, sit down
why
and watch
do I
the movie
do
for the entertainment value, knowing
exactly?
Stuff
It's like, why do I do civil defense? Why do I do World War One? It's because Fallout 3 and Battlefield 1. Like, I played those videos. That's why those video games got me interested.
Heck yeah.
And if that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
I get it.
Really quick, coming from the beyond, it'll be quiet for a second. When you decided
that history was going to be your thing, what was the first thing that you can remember that got you into history?
Well, I jumped around a lot. Originally, as a kid, I was like, I want to be a paleontologist, and so it was like dinosaurs, and I was, I still do it. it took until like 3 years ago I realized like I'm an adult. I can go look for fossils. So now I go do that.
Yeah.
But
Nothing
I
stopping
want,
you.
yeah, I was like, I wanted to be a paleontologist. And then as I kept going, World War II is what really like hooked me. But it
Yeah.
was video games. That was my introduction to, and I can tell you exactly which one. It's Call
Okay.
of Duty 2, Big Red 1.
Heck yeah.
That game, like I was like, wow, this is so cool. And it got me interested in World War II. And so for several years, I was like, I want to do World War II. And then there was a period like I wanted to be an Egyptologist.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to do an archaeologist. And actually, when I graduated high school, I was going to OU to be an archaeologist. And then
You
I
just wanted a
switched.
job where you got a shovel. That's what
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And then I switched to museum studies because I couldn't afford to go to OU. And I was like, well, museum studies, that's where all the cool stuff comes anyway.
it all
And
ends up
then,
there anyways. Yeah.
yeah. But then I switched to like, okay, Fallout 3 is what I played a lot. So that interested me in civil defense. And that's what I wrote my master's on. And then Battlefield 1 came out. And I was like, oh, World War One, that's really cool. And that's what led to my first book and my big dive into World War One.
Heck yeah.
But it's whatever interested me at the time. Because one of my other degree is Greek, Roman, and medieval studies. So
Heck yeah.
I'm all over the place.
I get it. Well, what got me started is growing up, I was like 8 years old, and this is probably pretty late, but I was like 8 years old and I was learning how to ride a bike. It's a bike that I built myself out of like junk spare shit parts. And my dad was like, well, you're obviously going to be really fucking stupid on this bike. So he gave me a fucking helmet, but we lived so far from everywhere, I couldn't get like a modern bike helmet. So he brought out his old fucking M1 from when he was in the Canadian Army, like in training, and he just slaps that on me. And that thing had so many fucking, it was every color of the rainbow at one point. There were so many fucking dents in it. I used it till the liner literally like disintegrated out of it. And part of the chin strap disappeared. And I still kept it around and kept it as like a parts bin for all of my helmets for like the longest time, where I kept like extra screws and rivets and shit. And I still have it, but it's like I wore it till I couldn't wear it anymore. And it's like I definitely would have fucking caved my skull in if I didn't have that thing. And had it for so many years.
It's one of those things, especially when you see it. I mean, I didn't know. I'm still mad at my family. I didn't know any military history until I got to college, but with my family. But it's like things that people want. When I wanted to do World War II, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then I realized there are so many people writing about World War II that there's no way to get your own voice in the field.
I was initially going to be big into like, because I did more research when I was like 10 or 12 about like the M1 helmet. And I was like, World War II is pretty great. So I started to get like real into it in my like early teens. And then my mother, who's Russian, called me a Nazi when I would like talk about stuff I was finding out about the German stuff. So I was like, okay, well, we're not going to do that anymore. And I flipped it to World War One, and it's kind of been a thing ever since. I just kind of stuck with it. It was about 14 where I was like, okay, World War One's going to be the subject that I.
Yeah, see, I was in college, so it's only been 10 years for me in the less than 10 years. Less than 10 years I've been doing World War One, and it's just you can find a voice
30,
in the
so
field.
It's like I've been doing it for 16, but it's.
It's just one of those that you got to find it. And, I can definitely, I found my voice in World War One, but anywhere else, it's almost impossible. And I mean, it's like, if you look at people's resumes, I mean, technically I've got published papers in philosophy, medieval philosophy. I've got a published paper on gender studies. I've got a published paper on art. It's like,
I wish I should have kept mine, because I, like I said, never could afford to go to college, but I helped one of my friends write her paper for her degree, her final paper she needed to get her degree about World War One. And it was about who actually started it and why. And I said, well, everyone's like, oh, the real prince of blah, blah, blah. That's how everyone does it. He shot Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and Austria gave the ultimatum to Serbia, and blah, 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 blah. Still nothing was happening. The war hasn't started then. They're still working shit out. What actually kicked it off is when Germany and Austria-Hungary noticed the massive Russian army mobilize. That's when it was finally like, there's no turning back. And I listed the dates and the reasons why and all the other stuff like that And that's when everybody's like, well, it's going now. That's the official thing. So
Zeno in the chat, who's done the paper on the terminal condition of being Canadian?
that would be the Americans when they tried to do this thing called the War of 1812, where they wanted this really great city. It's called Detroit. And it was a shithole back then, like it's a shithole now.
Yeah, but didn't we take the city called Quebec and then not want it?
I don't know. Well, here's the thing: Quebec City at that point wasn't really a city; it was a trading post in 1812. But like Detroit was the big thing because that was still Canadian owned at that point, and it was a big fort, and it was actually a massive hub and everything like that for access to the Great Lakes. And that was what America really, really wanted out of the War of 1812 was Detroit. And they didn't get it, but it ended up getting sold to them later anyways. So
there's
so they did get it.
Yeah, later.
But. Well, I mean, whatever happened to those British people in the?
And we got to burn the White House down. So I mean,
we built it better. Thanks for that.
That's fair. You did build it better, but we did throw a rager on the lawn with the locals. That was great.
So he does the royal we like the British, like because he, Canadians are still British,
fucking like Canadians. They're always still worshiping the Queen and all.
Yeah.
Chucky.
They love Chucky. Old Chucky is their idol, including Devon's. Yeah.
There's
I don't like Charles at all.
I'm trying to think, just random shit that comes up because the reality was, I've had that argument in the past on what makes someone a historian, and trying to like actually argue it out and put it out there. We've yet to come up with like
all subjective.
It's subjective, really is, but it's subjective, but it can't. The issue is it can't be subjective.
There's a level for sure.
It is subjective.
You get into that.
You can't allow it to be subjective because then you get anyone calling themselves.
No, then there's no standards. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But also, here's the thing with that is it's socially
like Dragon Man.
Well, there we go. Well, we'll get there. Nice kind of segue. But like that was actually a question that professor in college always asked. He was like, "What is a historian?" Because he had written, obviously several books. He's got his PhD. He's been in academia his whole life. He was very aware of it though, and it's funny as shit. Like he was my advisor too. So like when we were picking up classes and shit that I had to do for my program and all that stuff to graduate on time, blah blah. And then he's like, "Oh, you were in the military, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, the academics like me," in his accent, it's a lot more funny. He's like, "The academics like me, we're very soft men. I could never do that." But he's like, "But I'll study the hell out of it and I'll write books and papers about it and argue with people." And I'm like, but anyway, in his classes, he was just a good guy. He was very, very just fucking point. There was no pussyfooting around in his classes. He pissed a lot of people off. And he said that he's like, what is history? Right. And then he'd ask people on the first day, whatever class it was. And then he's like, what constitutes being a historian? Do you have to be at my level where you're teaching people constantly, you're writing books every couple of years, doing research and all that shit? Or do you go to a party and you just go, "Oh, did you know this about this? In fact, did you ever hear about this?" And
see, that's where there's levels. Like,
well, that's what I mean. It's like, where do you
so hard?
Where do you define it?
You can't. So it's like, what's the difference between a history buff and a historian?
Well, right? that is what I think is closer to what we're trying to ask instead of what is a historian.
I think I ended up have an answer. I don't have a hard answer, but I have a loose answer, and I think it's
let's hear your loose answer before I tell you what
level of comprehension.
Comprehension.
The time you're willing to devote to comprehending the subject.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why.
There's room for argument here. Yes.
Yeah. This is what we ended up doing because I mean, the whole point here is like eventually teaching people how to do history. Is I have my degrees. I've got 2 bachelor's, a master's, and I'm finishing my PhD this year. Right. So does that make me a historian? If you want to go off, I have degrees, but we could talk about people like Douglas Mastriano, who calls himself a historian. Man's a fucking yeah. All right, he's an academic fraud.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So he's not a historian. He just has this number. So if that's not it, then what do you have to publish things and be a historian? Do you have to teach?
There you go.
But
right.
Also, our buddy Stephen Gerrard, the man is a historian, and
absolutely.
He's never published anything. He's got his bachelor's degree, but he doesn't publish, he doesn't write, he doesn't share. He shares like an archivist, but that he knows everything there is to know about the second division and so much more
Yeah.
because he's done the research. And then it becomes that argument. Well, okay, a historian is someone, as you said, Devin, that understands it, someone who's done primary research into a topic, but like beyond that primary research, because then you go like, well, history buffs, like they'll obsess over the M1 Garand and know every little detail and every little,
but it's all secondary information,
right? Secondary info, but a historian goes and finds the original documents. And so I think to be a historian is to understand and to use primary sources,
to comprehend
what you're doing. But the comprehension issue is like you have to specify, because like you can read every book on the subject,
read and comprehend, but the thing is, it's like the time you devote to actually comprehending, because taking those primaries and making them secondaries.
Exactly. It's like you got to go through it, but that's all, that's, I think, what is truly a historian is someone who takes the time to do the primary research,
right,
and find the sources, and also someone who's willing to accept when they're wrong, but
and also debate, like be open to debate, like, because I've been wrong on a bunch of shit, and Devin especially has called me out a lot. You've called me on a couple things. And then I've called you guys out too, but it's like, it's not like a fucking.
For the side note, for the guy who says at Fort Sill, I just moved from Oklahoma, so I completely understand how hot it is. So,
well, it's apparently really fucking hot down there right now.
Yeah, it's a normal fucking summer. It's fine.
Yeah, they said a heat wave, but yeah,
that's fine.
But no, so what I was gonna say really quick is like to kind of supplement what has already been said. Devin has never been to college. I've got 2 degrees that are not at all involved in history. They're criminal justice, right? You've got all the degrees, all the paperwork. We still have the same idea overall.
Yeah.
Our methods and our willingness to like go deeper is one subject, but like we have the same idea of how to research, learn, and present to people. So it's like, then again, so it's not consistent. It's like, okay, so what do you need to do to be a medical doctor? You have to go through this. You have to actually, go through medical school after whatever.
You need to get approved for malpractice insurance.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all the steps are like there, and yeah, it's a little bit convoluted. But like as far as being a historian, it's like, well, again, like you initially asked, is what constitutes a historian? Who knows? Because like Steven is a great example too. Like, dude, that guy is a fucking wealth of knowledge. It's hard to get him to shut the fuck up. And yes, Steve, if you're watching, you know that, but I don't have a problem with that. It's fun. But it's like, this guy is a wealth of knowledge, but as far as being academically credentialed, no.
Right. And that's where the subjective, I think, comes in.
Yeah.
Where objective, you have to be able to do this, but the subjective is like me, right? Stephen and I work great together because I am academically inclined. I've got all the research ability. And I can write, and I've got the degrees. And it's the fact that I have that people look at me and be like, oh, he's a historian. But the reality is it's impossible to function without other people helping you, like an archivist, people in an archive, they could be like Stephen, he's a historian.
Well, that's the thing about a historian. A historian is you're taking the specialties of the other people and compiling it into easier to produce information.
I agree completely. And it's like, and even the degrees are like, it's some bullshit that I have to have this degree for people to take me more seriously.
Well, it's because the college wants their money.
Well, there's that. But just people in general, when you tell them, well, I'm Doc, if I say, hey, I'm James, I'm doing this research, I'm Dr. Gregory. Okay, that changes their perspective.
And it's I don't understand. I mean, okay, never mind.
I got a doctorate in art appraisal. Yeah, it's like
I understand it, but I don't agree with it necessarily because some of the smartest people I've ever known in my life, and that's also subjective, but like what I personally believe is the smartest did not have anything above a high school degree or diploma.
Right.
That's it. And they were very intelligent people, very good at teaching lessons, things like this. This is what happened. This is what I experienced, blah, blah, blah. And they were not academically accredited at all. They had zero credentials. They didn't go out and, go into the archives and all that stuff. But like they were still really good really good at what they did, and they didn't take themselves too seriously either. Like they're willing to have a conversation and debate about anything and everything.
Yeah.
But
they're really good at comprehending stuff and then breaking it down for other people to understand.
Make it more easily digestible for people who might have just played the video games and like they really don't know where to start. But if you can make something that's like, well, it's not the end of the world. It's a lot of work, but it's not like overbearingly difficult to do history correctly. And
well, in my case, it's the opposite. It's the ability to take a lot of things and break it down to finding the little details, like the other 16, breaking it down to the minute wording and the research,
Yeah, but the way you wrote it, it's easily digestible. That, you know what I mean? All the documents you read, they're not always necessarily easily digestible to somebody who's not in the know of that subject matter. And the way you wrote, not sucking your dick because your dick's not worth sucking and whatever. But like I did read your book. But no, here's the thing: is the way you broke everything down is it's like it's factual, but it's also easily digestible, and that's good because then people go, huh, maybe I will think about this a little bit different. It plants a seed. And it's like, okay, well, yeah.
I always said in academia that you got to be simple.
Don't just take one source of information. It's really easy to take one source of information, but a historian also has to go, like you said, to an archivist and sometimes the physical place to actually look at the things. Looking at the original photos. And you're then taking this thing that could have dozens of parties involved. Okay, you got to put your finger in all of those pies and then bring it together in a way that is understandable and processable.
Well, here's the thing: is you as a historian have to understand it before you can actually convey that, and it's a lot of times it's a lot easier said than done because you've got all this shit around you. You're like, how the fuck do I make sense of this before I can?
That's the part that takes forever. I was telling Mike today. Yeah. We were talking about some of my research with like Native Americans in World War I. And I was telling Mike, I was like, it's hard to find, but like there's 3 separate archives that you have to understand the full story. And they're in 3 different locations. Yeah. And you have to know all of them.
Time frames and
and you have to know them and how they relate to each other in order to understand how to tell the story.
And what you're getting into. And exactly.
Or else you're not getting the full picture. It's unfortunate.
Or worse, you're putting out information there that only shows one side of things.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's the thing is like, I think that's I would like Devin was kind of alluding to this earlier. But I would say when we're answering the question of what makes a historian or what qualifies you to call yourself a historian or whatever, I think it's when you look at everything that you possibly have access to on whatever the hell you're researching, okay? Because like we specialize in military history, right? But like history, that's a subject of almost an infinite number of subjects in history. And even with that, we go, okay, we're overwhelmed. And you as a person have to go, how in the fuck do I understand this or make sense of it? Because before you tell anybody else what happened, you have to know and understand to the best of your ability what went down, why, how, who was involved, before you can even begin to start putting it on paper and telling other people about it. And it's like, that is a bitch, because sometimes you get to dead ends where you're just like, here's where I got, but I don't have the whole story. I can't get it.
Mm-hmm. You can only get close, which is also typically an issue. I try to tell people a lot. Like me personally, I won't write anything I can't prove.
There you go.
And I know some people will put it like, well, you can assume. I'm like, well, I'm not assuming.
In theory,
no, you have
in theory, but no, I'm not going to do that. I refuse to publish anything.
And that I think
is proof.
That's why I respect your method and your style of history, is because there's a lot of people, myself included, if I were to write about shit, I would put in some shit that's a lot of it would be anecdotal, which is why I don't write things, because I know that. Because I want to believe it, but that doesn't mean it's right or correct. Mm-hmm. And if I don't have the piece, so it's like, that's why I usually don't write things. But yours is, you challenge yourself to be so confident in being able to back every fucking word you write up with actual evidence, not just hyperbolic shit and anecdotes and whatnot. It's primary sources, secondary sources, but they're fucking solid.
Yeah.
And
that's
why, like I said, like the
Look
other
at how much
16
history has been lost in the last 50 years, let alone.
it really had. But okay, we can get into that. That's actually a really good. I like that statement. But the way James and it's not just you; it's a lot of other really good historians write in a way that's like, here's how it is. It's not dry. It's not like because
history is pretty dry.
That's another thing is actual historians and stuff. They'll write their work for other historians to digest.
Yeah, I hate that trend. I refuse to do that.
It's an old school
to understand.
It's an old school trend, and that's the thing is that's why it's kind of nice nowadays because like your book and many other people's books, they go, yeah, history's tough to understand sometimes, of course, like what we just said, but I'll write it in a way that it's all backed up, but here's how I want you to hear the story because this is going to make sense because it's not super convoluted and whatever. It's like you trimmed a shitload of fat.
Yeah, I don't need to give you 85 pages of understanding what the Argonne looked like before I tell you what happened in it.
That's my job.
Yeah, you just got to break down all the primary sources into dates and like 5 names, and then
this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened.
Is who was there,
and this is who did this, and now you figure out what you believe. I'm out.
Well, also the way you write too covers your own ass because you go, "This is what this person said."
Yeah, I'm not saying this.
No, that's what this person
this says
said
right here.
And here's the reason I can say that is because it is written down. There is evidence here. They said that. It's not my words. It's theirs.
I didn't do it.
So you have to come up with your own opinion. Because, like, here's the thing is, I'm sure, I mean, a lot of people have read your book already. I'm sure if I talked to somebody else who I have never met in my life, who read your book, we would have slightly different
takeaways from it. Yeah.
Takeaways from it, but we read the same thing.
I'm just waiting for the part where some guy says some like incredibly racist thing and James puts it in quotes and he's like, I didn't say this, but I wholeheartedly agree with it.
Look, I will be honest with you. One time I wrote a paper and I was just really busy. I was trying to get it done and I forgot to put in the quotations. And my professor made a note. She's like, you shouldn't start using the words of the times. I'm like, I didn't do that. I was supposed to be in quotes. That was a direct quote. Like she was like, you can't call them that. I said that was a direct quote. That was not me. Well, and I've learned after that to make sure that I always put direct quotes whenever I write because it's happened before.
But again, that's exactly what I would expect an absolute harlot to say. And just like,
but also down. Like you're gonna fuck up. You're a human being. You're gonna fuck up once in a while. But it's just funny that like.
It was something like, I think it was like, I was talking about the Polish community in Bartlesville and how the community in Bartlesville used the 1918 flu epidemic as an excuse to kick the Poles out. And so one of the articles I was quoting was, it was saying something like the drunk Polacks got themselves arrested and were always fighting. And I was talking about that's what they were saying about them, but I forgot the quotes. So all my professors saw
so it was like it was
me just like going off. Like I fucking hate Polish people.
Right. I do.
No, it's not like, me.
You're not Polish. Polak. That's their word.
I was like, that's not. I'm sorry. And the worst part is, she was like a retired lawyer that did like civil justice lawsuits. And so it was just one of those things. But I'm always adamant to make sure like what I write is not me. Or if I don't know, I am very careful to say this may have. Or it could have been, and I always put a footnote explaining why I believe that, and that's the only safe way to do it.
And that's all you can ask for. Like seriously, like if anybody bitches about that, they're a lost cause because it's like, hey, I don't expect you to know everything. There's no fucking way anybody can know everything, right? We're humans. We've got a limit. If you fuck up, you fuck up. We can make a joke about it, but like. Yeah, I mean, with history, I think people expect too much as well.
Exactly how many genders there are.
As many as you want.
Canada?
To believe
in Canada or here?
Nope, I'm gonna St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis, Missouri, there's a lot
How
less
many
genders than
genders
there
are
are in Minneapolis and Chicago, New York and LA and San Francisco.
Yeah, but I need the exact number.
Oh, you know what? Hang on. Side note: someone I know they're making a joke, but like he says, these darn Polacks and colored folks. That's honestly an issue with my students is that they don't realize they can't write like the coloreds or the blacks, and
Right.
they'll write things in there
I
in
never
their
understood
papers.
that. Why can't
They
you
can't
just
say black
color-code
people or the
everybody?
blacks?
I
No,
don't
you
get
can
it.
say
There's
black
somebody
people.
like,
It's
"Hey,
the
whitey." I don't
it's
get
the
upset by that.
no. The issue
on,
is like
Devin,
when writing for historical papers, there'll be things like the blacks and then continue, which is like a very 1960s. Like it's only the people in the 60s call them the blacks.
As long as everyone understands, I don't see what the problem is.
It's you can call them black people, white people, all appropriate when writing, but when you start using the terminology of the time you're writing about, that's when it becomes the issue. Because
But I'm pretty sure that's still the terminology now today.
well, black people and the blacks is the issue because the blacks is a
Are they
term.
not
no,
black?
like okay.
Yeah,
just-
but the
Devin, hold on
term
for a second. I just want to understand this. So
Yeah.
somebody was writing. What were they writing about?
it was a paper on what did we assign? Oh, the Tulsa Race Massacre.
Okay.
In 21. But the issue is like typically it's like
So were
you-
they okay? So you're saying they weren't quoting?
no,
that,
they
you
weren't
know,
quoting.
Somebody
They
the
were
blacks
They
they
were
were
just talking
writing
about
like they had heard their grandparents speak. And
Yeah.
I'm not this is always the issue with like it's woke or such a you're trying to be so
No. I'm not. I'm not.
no,
accusing you of that
But
shit,
that's
like,
what a lot of them argued. But it's like just the terminology in the 1960s was always very negative, right? If they're
Yeah.
talking about certain groups, so they would refer to them as the blacks,
black,
and that's
yeah.
the
Like,
term.
it's
That's the
It's them.
yeah, like them, those people. But it's
Yeah.
always in a
That-
negative
consistent throughout
connotation.
history, no matter who it is. But
Yeah,
like,
but
yeah.
the idea is in a negative connotation,
Sure.
right? That's what you want to avoid because you could say the same thing without pretend without being like your 1960s. I write things all the time that piss people
Oh,
off.
so as long as it's not being used like derogatorily, you're fine.
Exactly. But that's the issue is that the way they will phrase it is they're phrasing it like their grandparents whenever they're
But
going
they
on
also
a rant
don't
'cause they
mean
saw
that because it's you know what I mean. Like
no, they don't, and I don't blame
Yeah.
them for. I'm not like
Yeah,
my
I think
students
as
are
long as they're
racist.
being harmless about it.
Yeah, they are harmless, but I'm like I have to then explain them like I know you don't mean this in a way, but like
the
you
way you
sound
write,
like
it does matter.
yeah,
Yes.
it's like you sound like your grandparents, like they just saw two black gay couple kissing on TV and now they're on a rant. That's what your paper reads like, right? And you got to avoid it because I get it all the time, especially with the old people. They're like, oh, you just this woke social bullshit. I'm like, I don't agree with the idea of woke and fighting social justice in history either. But I also know that you can easily tell history on a middle line, and there's no reason to.
Yeah, as long as the line is in black.
Well, also, dude, with that whole thing, like, I just wish the fucking pendulum for any kind of subject would fucking just rest in the middle where it doesn't like. Is people, you get the people on one side going, "Oh, you're afraid to use those terms." It's like, then you get the people. You use that term in a paper, my God, it's like fucking Christ, just shut up.
The way I always look at it is very simple. If you're going to teach history or you're going to write it or you're going to do anything, you write down the middle on everything. And the way I write, as neutral as you can, because the issue I get down here in Louisiana now is that, especially with these older guys, they still think the way they grew up in the 50s and 60s, and they still write this way, where it's like writing about the Civil War, and they refuse to mention the Battle of Bull Run, and they only mention the Battle of Manassas, right? It's the same battle. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you only refer to the unless you're doing like a Confederate perspective of the yada yada yada, if you only refer to it as the Battle for Manassas or the War of Northern Aggression, like it's obvious where
it's such bullshit.
It's obviously which way you're leaning in your paper, right? But for me, I would write it as the Battle of Bull Run and then in quotations, Battle of Manassas. Like I will use
from here on out will be referred to as this.
Exactly. Yeah. Just refer like the Battle of Bull Run, or also from the Confederate perspective called the Battle of Manassas. We will call it the Battle of Bull Run from here on. Sure. You can argue which perspective I'm picking, but I'm picking this perspective of it's right here down the middle. and I'm gonna do the everything. But when these people get upset, I get really annoyed with the woke people. But as equally annoying is the anti-woke people.
Dude, I know,
because they don't
just,
shut up either, and they
They're the
write
same.
that way.
They're the same person.
It's so
And
fucking
they're the same
frustrating.
thing,
Yeah.
but they don't understand it. So when doing history down here, it's like I understand where you're coming from, but like I can't have you every time a black student walks in the museum be like, "Hey, we have some blacks over on that side of the museum." Like there's a better way to phrase it, you know. Or here's something: don't phrase it. Just like let them go look
There's
around the
somebody over in the
museum.
museum.
Yeah, like you don't
Yeah.
have to
No,
point
but
out.
here's the
like,
thing too: is it also like, so what you were saying is the initial kind of sentence that was said was, you know, the blacks and all that stuff. Put it in quotes. Even if you don't, who fucking cares? But like, if you're going to be writing history, if you're going to be actually writing shit down,
yeah,
like
you
we were
better
just
do
talking
it right.
about 20 minutes ago, it needs to be in a way that's as neutral as you can possibly allow yourself to be.
Yeah, you have to play the middle. And even with my book on York, obviously I could have easily made
I
that
know.
a
Well,
York
that's the thing is,
bashing book, you know?
dude,
Like,
that's what I was saying, was it's written easily digestible, and I was waiting to like call you out on some bias shit, but no, it was like, it's written and it's not dry. It's very, it's I buzz through it like, because it's fucking easy, and it's like, oh, and I got pissed off obviously because of the whole thing,
yeah.
but like I was like, okay, the biases weren't really in there, and that's good. That's what you
Yeah.
need. And here's the thing: if you want to put your opinion in
How
there
dare you
somehow,
not care more about that American hero and you leave it so neutral?
Fuck you, Devin.
well, Devin, have you read this? Have you read James' book?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's
Son of a bitch.
yeah. I can give you my copy to read. It takes like a day or two. Tops,
Yeah, I would like
and
to read it. I should read more.
You
I have
sh-
a
you
bunch of
should.
You're gonna
things
get
that
pissed.
I haven't read.
You're gonna get pissed. I guarantee you, because you're gonna be like, "Oh fuck, it's worse than I thought."
My fiance doesn't even really like history, and she read it and she got mad.
Yeah.
She's like, "What the fuck is that? Why would they do that?"
Why don't we talk about his use of the Springfield 1903?
Fuck.
Well, no, it goes
Oh,
way beyond
Hang
that
on,
shit. Like,
hang on before you do that.
don't. Oh shit, no, you can't touch guns on stream. No guns on stream.
I guess I don't know where my copy is right now.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to grab a
I was
fucking
looking
03.
at a copy of my book, but I don't know where I put my copy.
Oh, okay. I thought you were grabbing a gun, like to show, like, oh, speaking of that, I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah, it looks like this one right over here. No, yeah.
I'll go grab my copy really quick, but because I gotta grab my vape.
Now I gotta know where the fuck I put my copy.
I'll be right back.
All right.
I don't have to poop. I'll be back in a sec.
How did I lose the
Till he
copy of
stands
my
up and has
own
to
book?
See, now if you had more guns behind you and not that many books, it'd be a lot.
No, that's the difference between all of us. You know, which one of us is the historian based on our offices?
So at least the thing is, with like my thing is, like there's only like 20 guns in this entire world I want, and 10 of them I'm never gonna see.
Fair. Maybe I put a copy over here. I don't know how the fuck I lost my own book. Well, I don't know.
You precious, huh? You snoozing?
It's somewhere. Well, you know,
You don't have 20 copies of your book laying around to stroke?
no, because they all sold out.
No. I see how it is.
Yeah, that's the one nice thing there. I don't have extra copies.
Fair.
Any historian that has a stack of his own
inconvenient
book,
for me to read it.
yeah. I've always felt that way, that any historian that has an excess amount of books is not a good look, because you have an excess amount of books.
I don't have that many books. I probably got 20 to 30, but they're all on World War One. So,
Well, I mean, an excess of your own book. Like if you wrote it and you have like 40
it's 'cause
copies.
people don't want to read it.
Exactly. That means no one's reading it.
So,
You know, I don't like that. So I avoid it.
fair. That's a great way to think.
Yeah, you know, if you
You
don't
don't
have
even
any
want to get
copies,
one gun to have back there. Come on, if you had to have one gun to have back there, what would it be? Put it down. You can't have any guns on stream.
An Indian gun.
You gotta put that down. That gets the stream flagged.
It's the one gun I have. It's an Indian gun.
Heck yeah.
18.
Some
50s?
kind of trapdoor. Is it the 50-70 or the 45-70? Because I know
think
a lot of the Indians acquired the 50-70 before they went to the 45-70.
Might be the 50. I've got it written down in my notes. Barnett, London. It's cut down, and then in the stock you can see the pins where there were decorations.
Yeah, they did all their stuff. Is it
Yeah.
still cap and ball, or is it?
Yes, it's still cap and ball percussion.
Okay, so it's a pattern 53 musket, probably.
I sent it to a historian at the Cowboy Hall of Fame. He told me all the info about it.
Yeah. Well, based on what you
fine.
told me, it's a 58 caliber pattern 53 Enfield rifled musket that was cut down.
Yeah, it's pretty
They
cool.
were very common because the North and South bought bajillions of them from Britain.
$10 at a garage sale.
Heck yeah. You can probably go shoot it right now and it'll be fun.
Where's your copy of the book, Mike?
Oh fuck, that's what I went to get.
He threw it away.
Yeah, cocksucker.
It's on my fucking nightstand, you fucking dweebs.
Tore it up and used it as cat box stuff.
No, I was actually, in full honesty, I was looking for my Nick stick. I misplaced it, and now I've recovered it, but I got distracted. So, yeah, this is a fucking.
There it is.
This is the book.
Good.
You still
Now
have to sign
James
this for
can
me, you fucking
copyright all
fag.
the profits from this video because you're showing his work on there.
What? There's no, I don't monetize these. I don't monetize the streams. Like,
He can take the super chat. Ooh.
no, you fucking can't.
Ooh.
Because I actually purchased this. This is my property.
Ah,
So, but
I gotta see the receipt too.
okay, I'll show
Great
you.
book.
No, it is because it's like I
solid
was
as
sitting there.
shit.
I was sitting there at night, and my wife was like, I get about 3/4 of the way through, and I'm like, this fucking bullshit. Nothing fucking changes, and I threw the book on the floor because I'm like, nothing. What the fuck? This is so retarded. Like that this happened, and it just continued to happen for several decades. The other guy's getting fucked. It's not the fact that York had his thing. I get that. That's sort of out of his control to an extent. But then the other guy is just getting absolutely fucking fucked. I was like, so this has been going on this long, and this is how bad this was.
Well, it's how it always goes.
And she goes,
war
"Are you
hero
okay?"
always
And I'm
has-
like, "Yeah,
They
I'm
get
just
their limelight while everyone else gets the shit.
right." And I'm just like,
I mean-
this is so fucking. It's just so fucking infuriating. Like,
My favorite chapter is I decided I wasn't going to let all the other historians get away with writing their books, so I have a whole chapter dedicated to every single person that's ever written about York and why they're wrong.
Heck yeah.
That was a fun part.
yeah, and it's just like, because again, just like you, James, even just talking with Don, like we had, and he had said many times he hasn't talked to a lot of like GWAT vets because he doesn't recognize, like we don't wear the, Iraq War whatever hats, we wear
who
this
really
kind of
don't want
shit,
the recognition.
right? And I explained it to him, but he was like, we were talking like off the camera or off the pod, and like he's like, I didn't realize how similar like the whole geopolitical like situation was like in Vietnam and in the GWAT. And I'm like, yeah, it seems like it's very similar because we were just going on and talking about just everyday life and shit. And
It's so
what
similar.
happened?
Even the same companies funded the wars. Weird.
right when he told me about what was then Brown and Root, I said, well, now it's Kellogg, Brown and Root. And he goes, well, Brown and Root built all the infrastructure and shit, and they were contracted. I said, yeah, Kellogg, Brown and Root does the same shit, and they do maintenance. And he's like, they're still. And I was like, wait a second, you're asking me if they're still around? They existed in Vietnam? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I actually did not know that. And this came out. This was recorded when we were talking about KBR or BR back then, Brown
Yeah.
and Root. And I just had no clue that it went back that far. I thought it was like started in the 90s, like in Kosovo and Bosnia and shit.
Nope.
No, that went back to Vietnam.
It probably goes even further back than Vietnam.
It might, but he's like, they call it what now? And I'm like, Kellogg, Brown and Root. But it's the same shit, it's the same company.
Yeah.
And man,
Just
it's
had
like
another investor come
full
on.
profiteering. It's like DuPont and all these other fucking,
I
Raytheon,
love
Boeing.
DuPont. They're my favorite
All these-
American company.
And it's like, so this has been going on. This scam has been going on for a lot longer than we thought. But one of the cool things is like, we were talking, and yeah, this is recorded as well. I gotta get those other episodes edited and put out. But we were talking about like Vietnam and like GWAT was a lot more similar than World War II to Vietnam was compared to,
Yeah.
Like it was very different. And like he always said that he didn't feel like he fit in with the World War II vets, and they weren't welcoming as well. That's another thing.
The World War II vets were the last people who actually had like a purpose that wasn't just for money.
That they thought.
The US since World War II hasn't done anything where they couldn't turn a profit.
Correct. And well, yeah, but the and also the style of war that was fought was very different from World War II. Like I think Korea was the actual transition period, because a lot of the shit that they did in Vietnam, especially early on, like the US, was kind of a leftover concept or series of concepts from Korea.
Yeah. All the
warfare
protected
style
stuff that they planned for, but then the armistice was signed.
Yeah, but most of the tactics that they did early on, though, were all from the Spanish-American War in the Philippines. The strategic Hamlet programs, any of the programs early on in Vietnam were just pullovers from the Spanish-American War in the Philippines.
And so how in the fuck did that come to fruition 50 years later?
You know who the U.S. really should have asked for help during Vietnam? The Japanese.
That's a dark joke.
But it's true. You know what they should have done? They should have taken this now like clipped balls Japanese military and been like, "You guys really want to pay us back?"
Yeah, let's head back to. It's called Vietnam now.
Yeah,
it's not even China anymore. But like, yeah.
But like, that would have been it would have been over in like that. You get those fanatics back in the jungle, bam.
How about this? You guys, I'll make you a deal. You get 25 days, no questions asked. Whatever happens, happens.
This cool new thing. It's called an M16, and we're gonna pay for all the stuff. Get after it.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
the U.S. just be smarter about how they do stuff. They should like mercenary their.
Yes, the U.S. be smarter is like. Never mind. I'm not gonna say that on stream.
But it's like it's like what they did to West Germany in the event that the Soviets invaded. The U.S. should have done that with the Japanese. Sent them to do the proxy wars in Asia.
Well,
they would have done it in a heartbeat. The Japanese would have absolutely done it in a heartbeat.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, that's something that I hadn't even ever
what the South Koreans did in Vietnam. Same principle.
No.
Yeah, but that was also, we were allies with them, A. B, it was way less time had passed between the Korean War and Vietnam versus World War II in Vietnam.
That's only 5 more years.
Right, but a lot. Okay, I mean, this is such a fucking what if, like hyperbolic fucking. No, I don't want to get into that conversation.
I just don't want to get into it.
Economic might of the U.S. behind them, Vietnam would have been over in like a month.
Why don't I just show you my student's paper paragraph and let you both understand how horrible my life is?
Fair.
Your fucking life is not horrible, Jim. You are.
Anyone who has that many books behind them is fine.
Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's on here.
Okay, I want you.
Amid World War I, Britain's George and Churchill, France's Poincaré, and wait a second, what?
Read it exactly as it is written.
Okay. I'll just read it. Amid World War I, Britain's George and Churchill, France's Poincaré, all made them thing in like manner, and that was they were extremely against German and needed no part in their nations being assumed control. Joined states Wilson endeavored to keep the United States out of the war. yet participate, and was an extraordinary political pioneer for our nation amid this time. Franz Josef I of the Austro-Hungarian Empire
The Astro.
and
Astro.
Germany's Wilhelm considered their regular people and let their military pioneer manage so they could accomplish force to be reckoned with. Hitler was okay. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna read it as is. I'm sorry. I just fucking that got me. Hitler was one of the reasons for World War One, since he needed to pick up what Germany had lost from the past war. Possessive Germans were yet irate about the thrashing of World War One and the impacts of the Treaty of Versailles. What in the actual? That's not even AI. AI is not even that bad.
I'd like it. I give him like a 10% participation award.
You know how hard that was for me to just
She
read
wrote
it
a whole
verbatim?
paper like this.
Yeah, to be fair, he
Holy
got Franz
fuck.
Joseph I correct. He was involved in World War One. He was there.
So here's the deal, right? If we're looking at it, all of the mistakes in this paper are actually very simple mistakes that we all make, right?
There's just a shitload
Typos,
of them.
names,
No,
yada, yada, yada.
I would disagree with you there. The grammar is egregiously felonious. It's not even close.
Well, let's dissect this a little bit, right?
Amid World War One.
So first off, this is a case of a student that obviously was using Grammarly at the time, or a system that was replacing words with synonyms, right? Because none of these students would use the word amid. So instead, they would have likely used during. So it changed during to amid. And then you get pioneer. She says the word pioneer multiple times. Military leaders, military, whatever, but using the word pioneer just doesn't fit. And then my favorite is joined states Wilson. They had used the word United States so much and so frequent near each other that it started changing the United States to the joined states. So for the rest of the paper,
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, yep.
It changed
That's how that came out.
United to the synonym joined. So
wow,
when you look at it, the first thing I tell my students is, how could this have been fixed? Answer: read it out loud. You just look at it. Do a proofread.
Have somebody proofread.
I read some egregiously bad shit. This one, like I had to just.
You had a stroke halfway through it.
I read 3 words and I'm like, in my brain starts processing when I'm reading, and I'm like, wait a second, that makes 0 sense. So I have to keep going. And it's like, I mean, this is
10-year-old autistic kid tried their hardest.
This is a 18-year-old American girl.
But it's not her own work though. Again, you can tell
it's her own work.
She used nothing online like AI.
No, this is before AI. This is like 20.
No,
this is my first year teaching. So this is 20. What year was this? This would have been 2016, 2017.
So right at the start of AI.
This is before AI.
So this person wrote all this shit?
Yes. So here's the other deal.
Oh,
right?
no.
I told you that I can instantly tell you that they copied and pasted some of this material off the internet.
Yeah.
All right. Just looking at it. Can you see how I know that they automatically copied and pasted it? Let me give you a hint. The first line.
Amid World War One, comma.
Nope.
Britain's George and Churchill.
Nope. Those are failures because she should have said Britain's King George or King George, whatever, and Prime Minister Winston Churchill, right? But she didn't.
Thing in manner, and that was
nope.
Okay, just let me read. I'm reading out loud a bit. Okay, so I needed no part in their nations being assumed
First line, the very first line, I can automatically tell you it was copied and pasted.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and let me know.
All right, you see the comma with World War One?
Uh-huh.
See how it's shaped? Now look at the apostrophes for Britain and France.
Yep. The dash versus the actual.
If you copy and paste from the internet, you can copy and paste, and it will always make these straight apostrophes, and you can control all, change it to Times New Roman. The only thing it will not change is those apostrophes.
Yeah, because they're not. Yeah,
You got to go in and delete those and
you have to manually fix those. So you see it's there, and then in Germany's Wilhelm. So I can tell you without a doubt, 100%, those were copied and pasted.
Well, I ain't no grammar Nazi like that. I'm not that anal, but
Well, that's not even grammar. That's just like it's just the program that we've noticed over the years that you cannot make that in Times New Roman.
And also, like, I mean, the grammar's. I'll just fucking.
Grammar's not my forte.
It actually is mine. Believe it or not, James. I know you can make fun of me. You can whatever.
We know you're a grammar Nazi, Mike. It's fine.
If I actually do right, I've literally never gotten less than a fucking B on an actual written paper that I did. I did not plagiarize, whatever. Like in high school, college, I've never gotten below a B.
For a second there, I thought you were going to say because of the oral exams, but
this stuff is a student with no special needs that grew up in a good old Edmond, Oklahoma educational system, and actually one of the more expensive schools.
They don't even believe in evolution, so I'd believe that.
True. So writes all of this, and still, I don't know, just didn't even bother to like reread it.
Well, okay, yeah, because like
I don't know. This was my reality. Her whole paper was like that.
Here's the thing: is there's one thing if somebody's bad at grammar and spelling, which
you got to give her a break. She's from Oklahoma. She was Oklahoma.
Yeah, me too. Okay. Not a good excuse.
No, what I was going to say is like there's people who I know who are actually very intelligent. They just have a hard time with written anything, right? They're very intelligent people, but like, so I can give that a pass.
Yeah, I'm not a great writer, but I speak very well. So,
fucking Word fixes my grammar all the time.
Okay, but anyway, that's something. If you don't have the greatest written grammar, I can forgive that. I will call you out and I'll bitch about it. But like, I get that. But that was egregiously like not their own work. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Most of the time, what they'll do is they'll copy and paste something off the internet. And again, I'm guilty of it, but I'm smart enough on how to fix it. But you copy and paste something off the internet, and then all they did was like, oh, they're not gonna know. I'm gonna change some of these to synonyms, and then it's gonna look like it's a different sentence. But like saying, I ran to the store, and then I read it and it says I walked swiftly to the store. Like, it's the same. You just fucking changed it. I know this. This is obvious. And the system we have will catch it. It'll tell you, hey, 80% of this sentence is the same as from this source. And then you can obviously see what words were changed.
Yeah.
But this is like one of the issues of students that obviously don't care. But I honestly, I don't take it hard. I take it kind of like a personal, like do you either think I'm that stupid? Like you're going to get away with it? Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, you became a teacher.
Oh, fair fucking bird. Fair bird.
Fair bird. But I don't know, though. I don't know. At an academic level, that's like I still get summer breaks off and I get paid. So,
hey, dude, it's all right. In the famous words of one of the best, smartest people in the world, Jack Black, those who can't do teach,
and those that can't teach Jim.
Great movie, by the way. Funny as shit.
Is.
But no,
it's the when they cheat, especially. I'm like, hey, you think I'm so stupid? I'm not gonna notice. I did the same thing when I cheated in college. It goes
back to what we were just talking about, like an hour ago. Like, it's fucking we've done it. Like we've done it, but we were smarter, and you're able to do it in a way that is literally not plagiarizing because. And here's the thing: is when you do that shit, and you're lazy, and you're just like, I just need to get this fucking paper or this fucking whatever written. You still learn,
And I throw a
because
citation on it, you know?
there you go. But there's one thing, but like it's that okay. So my opinion of most academics who I've run into is not very high. Okay,
I agree.
it's not, and James knows this, and you know this, Devin, and like it's not very high because I personally experienced people, and I'm like, you literally have nothing to offer the world except regurgitating shit and teaching people how to also regurgitate shit because you don't check it. It does happen a lot, and there's shitty people in every fucking profession. I know that's a whole trope and everything, but like academia, it's like that's why I still talk to you, James, is like you're an academic to an extent. You know how to do the shit, you know how to play the game, but like you also are your own person and you're an
I fucking
individual
hate
thinker.
academia.
What?
I fucking hate academia.
I know you do. And it's
That's
fine.
you
because
are though.
That's
I
the best
know, I
person to
hate
be
myself.
teaching. That's it. Well, everybody, you can just fucking look at you and fucking everybody
True
knows
American
that. Like
nature.
that's a
Nah.
freebie. But like it's no, the fact is like you also don't give a fuck if you piss somebody off.
Yeah, it's not
That
my
to me is
not
all
my
the
job.
difference. It's like because most academics are just always like these very I don't want to stir the fucking pot too much because I don't want to lose my job. It's like, well, but if you're good at your job and you actually stood up for what you believed in, and you could back that up with facts and all that shit, you wouldn't have to worry about losing your job, right? Right?
If you have it, you need to teach it in a way. And I've always had professors that were like, I needed to go. One of them suggested I go take an English class to learn how to lose my accent because it was pretty thick back then when I
What?
started. Because it's one of those things that it's pretty common in the South that like
No, but
people.
wait, back up. Are you serious?
Yeah,
Somebody-
yeah, 100%.
Well, maybe if you learned how to not talk like a sister fucker, it'd be fine.
That's exactly the thought.
He's
Is
not a sister.
people,
He's a brother fucker. He's from the Southwest, not the fucking.
the people will do it where they're like, you, and I've done it myself, even though I'm like, I know these people, they're very smart, but then I hear them get up there and like, well, this is what we're going to talk about. I'm like, you fucking idiot. And I'm like, wait a minute. No, she's a brilliant woman. Like, I have to catch myself. But like, you start with that. And I was very adamant from the beginning, like, I'm not going to write for other academics because they can all kiss my ass, but I'd rather write for people like me that I don't need filler. I don't need fancy words. I can tell you in a very simple way,
Yeah,
and
just
not
find
make it
young colored
convoluted.
people, and there you go.
Yeah.
It's all a part of that game, and I don't like playing it, and I don't like the way academia is gone. Even my department that I graduated from, they've been actively killing their military history program,
Tons of colleges are.
and they're proud of it. Like they actively have talked about how they've killed the program, and they won't hire anyone that for the positions because they don't want military history. Because the way they look at it is military history is the old man thing. It's the old way. But the reality is military history, in my opinion, is like the most versatile field because you can apply it to literally anything. You can do
It's
environmental
political science.
history.
It's science.
You can do
scientific,
gender studies. You can do racial studies. You can do environmental studies. You
As
can
it
do.
turns out, humans really like to kill each other.
Yeah, it falls into literally everything. So
it really that's what my professor also said. He's like, in order to understand so if you're a social historian, right, society and all that stuff, you have to understand 10 15 other aspects of how and why that shit became societally the norm at that point in this country, wherever the fuck it is. You can't just go, I want to research what they wore and how they were, going out to ice cream parlors after Prohibition, right? Something like that, instead of bars and all that stuff. It's like you have to understand. So where did that come from, and where did all that shit? And military history is the same way. Is like, yeah, the military is the end result of shit not working.
Mhm.
It really
Yeah, well-
that's what I've noticed. And it's
Well,
like,
you can talk about it, but you have to have all the. I think we all discussed it the other day. Is if we did like Native Americans in World War One, we have to discuss the Spanish American War,
person clauses, and like tons of other stuff. Yeah.
and we got to discuss the Indian Wars, and we got to we have to discuss all of these things to get to this point. But they've been actively killing it because they don't see the value in military history. They'd rather do gender studies and classes.
They want less violent topics now.
Yeah, but the entire whole point of military history nowadays is that you don't have to follow. I mean, like I said, I wrote a whole article on military history, but you did it on the flu epidemic. So it's technically now environmental history, right? It's
yep, it's scientific.
Dirty Polacks were just
it's dirty Pol. Yeah,
the dirty Polacks. Yeah, but no, it's like that's also scientific history, social history, and it's like there's
medical
a bunch of
history,
different
political history.
Some of the best
yeah.
books on Vietnam I've read recently were actually environmental histories. And where he wrote about just the environment and how it played a part in it. And even hell, I read one, it was like on the flooding of the Yellow River. The Chinese broke the dam and flooded the Yellow River to stop the Japanese advance. And in the process, like they flooded a bunch of towns, killed a bunch of their own people. And then what happened after that is like disease rose because now there's more insects. The dam broke, so it's harder to get
everything.
Harder to get clean water. It destroyed the ecosystem they had built. It destroyed the irrigation, so now they couldn't grow the crops. So then there was a famine on top of that, and they didn't have the water to fix it. So it literally caused like 30 years of an environmental disaster based on one military decision.
Yeah. But it's
like
the Chinese got plenty of people to fix it. They're fine.
Yeah.
But
the issue is like it goes way beyond just they broke the dam. You can do a whole history on the repercussions of something.
Yeah,
for sure. And it's everything. Like and that's why I don't agree with that. Like why the fuck would you take military just because it's like, yeah, there's violence. Like there's violence in quote unquote civil history.
There's violence every day and just
it's like people make stupid decisions, and it impacts people, and it impacts the environment. It impacts economic, social growth, all that shit. It's like it really does. It's all intertwined. And why the fuck would they have a war on, well, no pun intended, but like, why would they have a war on military history?
It's the idea that it's an outdated form and something that doesn't need to be focused on.
Because no military history is going down right now as we speak. Right now.
Well, no, you don't need that. You need social history. Yeah, that's the issue.
A lot of it is wars tend to involve a lot of violence, and then two groups of people hating each other. And colleges don't like to teach about hate anymore.
See, that's why I like my position. It's that patriotism sells, and so if you're trying to raise money, it's nice to have a place that will focus on it. And I've done this. So the university had I don't agree with it, but the library was named after Troy Middleton. He served in the 4th Division in World War I. He commanded the 45th Division, and then he was the one at Bastogne that held the defense of Bastogne until Patton could get there. Point is, he became LSU's president afterwards, did a lot of good work, so the library was named after him. The year before I came here, a student had found a letter in their research that he had written to Texas. And in this letter, he was very open about, like, if we have we have to have black students now, but I'm not going to let them play sports. And even if they try, I'm going to find a way to keep them out. Like, he was just very adamant. He would not allow black students to be a part of anything.
Or you at least only let them play sports that are very white, so they can't be better.
No, they wouldn't let her. You didn't want to do any.
So not being like, you guys can go out for lacrosse.
Yeah, no. So he was very adamant, and this ended up like causing a fight, and it was also the same year there was like a big issue with Baton Rouge and police violence. I don't remember what it was, but anyway, the university made like a knee-jerk decision to remove his name from the building, and
He did one thing wrong. Out of
yeah,
all
and
the
it
good.
pissed off a lot of people. And so the way I've argued now, trying to repair this tension with a lot of the older folks, is inside the museum is military history.
Mhm.
Outside of the museum is everything else. So at the same thing, they might have said some things and done a lot of dumb things. If it's not in their military career, it does not get discussed inside the museum.
Fair.
It's you have to compartmentalize certain things
I get it.
because people are not so easy, you know.
It's the same thing of how people should be applying to life. It's like, okay, cool. So the reason the library was named after this guy is because of this, this, and this. Whatever, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? It's like all those people that are taking down all the Confederate statues that oftentimes were actually funded by the North and by people that were abolitionists and other stuff, so that people would have reminders, for one, of their history. It actually gave something for Southerners to rally around, but it also was shown as a gift from the North, obviously, as here you go, we care still. Welcome back to the Union, yada yada, this and that. Even though a lot of the stuff went up during like World War I and yada yada.
Well, any of the ones that went up in the 20s were the Daughters of the Confederacy, and those are fine. You can tear those down. But
yeah, but a lot of them were actually paid for by abolitionist groups and stuff. And a lot of people are like, "This is a symbol of hate." I'm like, well, people that really wanted to free the slaves paid for this and wanted you to interpret it as a message of, this and that and yada yada, and you're taking all the stuff down for the wrong reason. And it's like, here's the thing.
Mhm.
I'm also fully on the other side because I would love to go to school to be a politician because I love to argue. God, am I so good at it too. But I was like, well, if we can't have anything that has to do with the Confederacy, somebody better start digging up all those guys in Arlington National Cemetery because that used to be owned by Robert E. Lee, moving to fucking Kansas or something. So, where do we draw the line? If you're gonna do all this, where do we do it?
Yeah, and that's why it's been adamant, like things have to be compartmentalized and things have to be understood as to why we're doing it.
Somebody get a lot of backhoes. We gotta fix Arlington.
Exactly.
We gotta move a lot of shit.
It's a weird part of the field now, but it's like navigating people need to be able to understand history to understand why things are the way they are, but they don't. They want to just have knee-jerk reactions.
But it's also like, it's not hurting anybody now. It's a fucking statue.
Yep.
And if the people at the time weren't fucking outraged of it, why are you outraged of it now?
Yeah, there's a few and some of them I do agree with. Let's say for a lot, like I said, the ones in the 20s, a lot of them were built by Daughters of the Confederacy or something, but it was like, and I do agree with this. So a lot of them were sometimes built right in front of the courthouse as a perfect it was always built, when you look at the timeline, they're built in reaction to something happening with civil rights.
Yeah.
So you get Reconstruction, and so African Americans get rights. That's the rise of the KKK and this push about the grand old Confederacy.
Yeah.
And then it dies down, and then you get the 1920s, and you start getting a little more civil rights. So what do they do in response? The KKK comes back, and they start putting these statues in front of like the courthouse, right, as like a kind of a means, like we're here, and we don't forget us. And then it dies off, and then the 60s happens, and you see a rise in white supremacy, yada yada. So like, there's obviously a reason when they put up a statue in 1925 of a Confederate soldier in front of the courthouse.
Yeah,
it's an obvious reaction to civil rights as a way to like intimidate them. So like, those can go away. That's fine. But some of the statues that are built, like you said, that were built right after the war, that works. But I always tell my students, because they don't understand the timelines, I'm like, how many statues do you think were built by people from the Civil War? What about their children? What about their children's children?
Like,
and then when you actually do the timeline, it's like, these statues are put up 3 to 4 generations after the Civil War. Like, these aren't monuments. These are shitty cast bronze statues that were sold for a profit that people put up because they thought it was going to be like reestablishing their own personal beliefs.
Yeah.
You know,
So none of it matters anymore. And
no,
it's like,
it doesn't.
Whatever. So some committee approved that it goes up. You know it's a fucking bad person. Cool. The guy's a bad person that's on that's the statue's up. Move on with your life.
There were two at OU. I agreed with them with this one. It was a building and a street they renamed because it turned out the guy that funded it, and it was named after, used to be like the Grand Wizard of the Klan in Oklahoma.
I can see that.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? We can probably
yeah.
we can remove his name off the building.
Yeah.
You know, we probably do that. That's okay.
We should do more like what the Europeans did with stuff like that, where they like Belgium did with the statues of like King Leopold II. They put up they didn't take any of the statues down. They just put a plaque up by it that said, this dude was a piece of shit and blah, 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 and a bunch of stuff that he did. And then at the bottom, they have a QR code where it takes you to a whole thing of all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, okay, so then you can take from it what you will instead of having to like literally ruin it. Because you know what? I don't give a shit. I kind of like looking at a statue with a guy on it, you know, with a guy on a horse.
But also, here's the thing is, like we were talking about,
I kind of like looking at it.
With history is like, who determines what is good and bad?
It's all bad.
Yeah, but good and bad is a subjective term. That's what we're discussing.
That's why I just asked that question.
Yeah,
it's what is good and bad? And
but like some of them are different. The Grand Wizard of the Klan, we can all get behind. We don't want to like promote the Grand Wizard.
How dare you?
One of my life goals is to just get the fucking title of Exalted Cyclops.
You know,
that's it. I'll join the KKK. I'll do that. I'll just go through all the shit.
As shitty as Oklahoma is the only state to declare open war against the Klan.
Well, that's because it's open territory.
The governor in 1923 declared open rebellion and martial law against the Klan, and allowed Home Guard and national troops to engage in combat with the Klan. Because they were kicking him out. And then he ended up getting kicked out of office because his entire cabinet were all Klan members. But for like 3 months, it was open season on the Klan members. And he ordered a shoot first, ask questions later order. And they did. They just rode up and started shooting Klan members. And when you know it, Klan activity in Oklahoma declined very quickly.
Weird.
Well,
yeah, it was crazy.
Most of the Klan guys that I've heard about, I've not met a lot of them. They didn't tell me directly, but I could kind of read between the lines, maybe. But
are you sure they're not just people from the South?
I mean, do you ever think about the history when they always teach KKK stuff with Reconstruction? They're like, yeah, the Klan shows up, but they never mention like where they go. And I always wondered why we didn't like learn what happened to the Klan. And that's when I learned
like, President hideout. Let's go.
Yeah, but that's what happened. President Grant during the Reconstruction ordered open season on all Klan members.
Well,
and wouldn't you know it?
I've always noticed that like everybody who claims to be associated with that or whatever, they're really giant pussies. They're just like
always.
I have before the internet, especially. It's like they have nowhere to go. They can't go to Reddit. They can't go to 4chan because the internet, hasn't been around. So they'll just go to whomever will accept them, in their little group, and they're bitches. They're pussies.
Always. The fucking Grand Wizard, is that supposed to be a terrifying title? Like, look at the Grand Wizard. He's got 8 teeth more than everyone else.
They got a lot of their fucking nomenclature and all that shit from Scottish like lore way back when. Because they're all like, yeah, we're Scottish and English, descendants, and this blah blah blah. I'm like, you guys are fucking pussies. And yeah, they did a lot of bad shit when they were unchecked. That's the thing, is like, as soon as somebody like there was you might know this. I'm gonna just spitball this fucking thing that I learned about years ago and haven't gotten back to it since. But like, there was a time, I don't remember what state, down in the southeast, and they were trying to lynch this dude for whatever reason, right? And he had guns, and his family had guns, and they they killed a bunch of KKK guys, and they just turned tail and ran immediately. And then I don't remember how far back, because it was after like the fucking gun control for black people down south. It was after that, so they didn't expect these guys to have guns, and these black people just fucking shot them. They fucking owned them, and rightfully so, man. If somebody's coming to your house on horseback or just walking, they're carrying torches and they're carrying weapons. I do the same shit, and then it quieted down a bit in that area after that.
There's even a more recent one where like this group fought against the KKK and managed to like steal one of their flags, and they still have it to this day in the community center.
Oh,
like,
excellent!
As like a symbol, like, you know, fuck them, we don't need them. But like as soon as people stand up to it, it's always something that dies down. But it's like these are the parts of history we should probably talk about. Like, yeah, the KKK was around, but also like
they got
people
fucked up.
fought back. You know,
oh yeah,
people did show that they really had no
what
power.
the hell decision was that? It was called
for every racist person, there was another person who wasn't racist. So
what was that called? That the decision that was made about gun control in the late 19th century. But anyway, if you go back to like gun control as a topic, that was one of the first things is to get black people to not be able to own firearms, right?
Yeah,
because they were getting fucked up because they would go to these people's houses, they would shoot them, and then they hightail out. And
it's amazing how that works. You know,
isn't it weird? Yeah,
the right to defend your property and family all of a sudden stops violence.
Yeah.
With these racial groups.
It stops violence with abrupt violence, but
yeah, abrupt violence is fine. You know, when we did it with like the Tulsa Race Massacre, right? This has been a big debate with people where the older people are mad that we're talking about it now. And it turns out like the city of Tulsa actively tried to cover it up. And so it's good they're talking about it now. But they're always like, no, they deserved it because they called it the Tulsa Race Riots. But I always have to like take a map out and show my students that like North Tulsa's here, the courthouse is here, right? The initial fight they had was at the courthouse, and then it broke up, and all the black people went home, and then the white people went to the armory, armed themselves, marched across town, and then started the fight in North Tulsa and set it on fire. Who's to blame for this riot?
The black people.
Yeah, that's what they're like. Well, they did it. No, they didn't. They went home, and then these people came to their property with guns and threatened to kill. Like this is a perfectly valid like defend it. And a lot of these guys are World War I veterans.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have these black World War I veterans protecting their own community from a mob who has marched across the city to burn it down. Right. Over something that never even happened. It was total misunderstanding, lie, whatever you want to call it. That it's not a riot. That is a massacre to what they did to them. Right. And it needs to be talked about. It needs to be discussed.
What if it's like one of those things where they lost it to history, where everybody was just really upset that all the black people went home and they were going to go burn them down because they're spineless.
You fucking cowards.
Yeah. No. Yeah. What if it happened like that, and now it's just turned into this race thing?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is like, everyone just didn't want to talk. They fired a professor in the 50s for trying to teach it from University of Tulsa. So like it was always trying to cover it up, but now you can't hide it and you can't get away from it. So they've run into it head on.
What they do is like with history in general, like you don't have to agree with what happened, but it is what happened. It happened. Shit happens in like right now as we're speaking. Shit is happening, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not an agree with. It's just like. Why are we learning this? I got that question a lot from people. Why are we learning this? We're learning
because it happened.
This is important.
Because it happened. Like that's
this is an important factor.
It did happen, and it's like
it's like also when we're talking about it, North Tulsa was called Black Wall Street. It was the most wealthy neighborhood in the entire state.
Like that's why they had guns.
Yeah, they had a very wealthy community.
Yeah,
and actually, it's part of that again that long history. One of the arguments for why Tulsa suffered so bad during the Depression is because all of the money that the city had was in the Greenwood district. And after the race massacre, they all left and took their money. So of a sudden, the millionaires, a huge chunk of the money for the city is gone. And so the Depression hits and the city tanks because that money has left.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's just the thing is like and but also, so with all that shit that's happened in the past that we can read about, learn about, and try to convey
Oh,
to other
here.
people
While you're doing that, someone said this in the
while I'm doing
comments.
that.
Yeah, shut up.
Yeah,
You can keep
love
talking, but you have to see this. I bought it at a thrift shop, but Virginia Reenactor says it. I found this at a thrift store in Oklahoma City. Taken in Hinton, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So I bring it up to my students and teach them what The Birth of a Nation is, right? This is the movie that came out in
I'm aware.
1917,
Yeah.
right? And it was credited
Well, I
with
think it was 19. Was it not?
no, it came out
Hold on.
yeah, look it up. I know it came out when Wilson was president.
15. Okay. Yeah.
So, because Wilson watched it at the White House. So, Birth of a Nation comes out. It's credited with
the White House.
Yeah, it's credited with being the reason the Klan came back in the 20s, right? But I always show this photo in my class to like point out a couple things. One, obviously, it's a big poster in the middle of town. But two, this guy is obviously happy about being photographed with it downtown. So, like, what does that tell you about social thinking at the time? And what's it tell you about how people felt about it?
Okay. Okay.
No.
So good. No, zoom back in.
Okay, which one? Where at?
Just no on this picture. Okay. So
yeah, certain area.
What do you think it says?
So this is easy for me. Let's just take the guy, for instance. This is a man that in the middle of the day is posing with the photo, with the poster in the middle of town, in the middle of daylight, smiling and grinning, taking a photo, showing that socially this is totally acceptable at the time to promote, support, and be a part of the birth of the nation. And that goes as a bigger picture to show a lot of white sympathies in the South at the time.
Okay. So, okay. That's just looking at the picture with no context in the background.
With no context. Right.
See, I look at him and there's another option that I see is how many times have you taken a picture next to something that you find ridiculous and just grin and just go, look at this shit.
Could be.
It could. That's what I mean. It could be. We don't know. We can gather all the context, but who is this guy, by the way? Do you know who he is?
Yeah, he came with his like hunting licenses. They're in a pile I've got somewhere. So I know his name, but he was no one of any actual concern.
Okay, so is there a possibility he could have just been
a pin on his lapel? I'm just kidding.
What? No, no.
yeah.
That's what I mean is like, is there a possibility that it could have just been like a check this shit out? What the fuck is this? You know, like
he's probably just like, you know what? This is the only thing going on in 40 miles, and I'm
could be, but again, it's the idea that like because we do it with like the popularity of the Klansmen. Like, well, how do you know it's popular? I'm like, well, they put you put movie posters up in town when things are popular to come see it. It's Hinton, Oklahoma. There's nothing else going on, but that's also the point. How many people watch this film because it was the only thing? As a film, it's still taught in film studies because it's the first film to like do wide shots and hire hundreds of extras for scenes. So they still use it in film studies as like the very first movie to do a lot of things. So as a film,
people were just watching it to watch it then.
Right. Objectively,
right.
It's a film that's interesting for the time. But the issue is the context of it being based on the Klansmen.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Promote something.
But it's like,
as we said, why did we get interested in World War I, World War II? It's because of video games or what we watch TV. Yeah, the racism.
Well, you guys are
it's what we saw on TV is what we saw in the video games. So you can do the same thing with this. People go watch the Klansmen and they're like, yeah, I support that.
Right. But like, I guess my whole point of kind of like doing what I just said is like, you look at a photo with no context It's all about your interpretation.
It is.
Therefore,
and this
it's
one,
subjective.
this one's open for interpretation. I can use it for both. But if we're gonna like sit there and ask which one's more likely in Hinton, Oklahoma in 1915, right?
But
You end up with that.
but here's the thing: is what's more likely? Yeah, that I get that. But also, again, how many pictures have you taken next to something that you find like entertaining at least and like kind of funny? And it's you have really no attachment to whatever, but you're like, oh, this is funny.
I mean,
You just
people
like
took
It's true.
pictures for
You know?
no reason all the time.
But
You know,
that's
and
the
that's
point,
thing,
though,
yeah.
is how
Yeah.
you use it, right? With no context,
Yeah.
this is how I use it,
Stop
right?
being
You could do
ridiculous.
the other way, and let's say we're making fun of it. I'd still use the same photo, right? But so the
Sure.
context of what you're doing,
Yep.
absolutely. But it's
That was
like
just my point. Yeah, it's like
you need these photos though to show what it is, especially with like lynchings. I always show one photograph, and I ask them, when do you think this one was taken? And they'll be like, the Civil War, Reconstruction. I'm like,
No,
wrong. It
way
was
later.
taken in 1909
Yeah.
in Oklahoma.
Oh,
and,
well,
and it's like, what happened to these
It was
two?
like I thought you were going to show the one of like Duluth from like
that's what I'm
1970s.
doing it right now.
Yeah, well, the one in
Sure.
Oklahoma is famous because it's the only known lynching photograph of a woman.
Okay, but that's also Oklahoma,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But Minnesota's a very northern state, and they hung two black dudes in like the 70s. From
No,
a
it wasn't the
streetlight.
70s. Are you?
Or from whenever it was.
1920.
Whatever.
But so Duluth, Minnesota is about as far north as you can get in the country without being in Canada, minus like a little bit of drive.
It's an hour
very
drive
far
from
north.
Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very far north. Also a very busy port city or town. Is it a city? Yeah, it's a city.
It's a city.
But anyway, in 1920, in way north United States, people were lynched. People were hanged publicly. They'd left their bodies there.
By a
Yeah.
streetlight. Yeah.
Well, the way we use them in class, not to say like, oh, it's the South, but I get students all the time that are like, no, my grandparents said that it was very, we were friendly. I'm like, okay, well, you know why these two were hung? Because the dad was accused of stealing bread, and then he left town, so they hung his son and wife.
Yep.
It's like, I don't see your point anymore, guys.
But here's the thing: is like we were talking about earlier with the woke shit. Like the pendulum it's either one extreme or the other. So what happened was, so there was a governor of Minnesota, Calhoun. What the fuck was his name? His first
John
name.
C. Calhoun.
John, yeah. So he was a governor of Minnesota in the late 19th century during the kind of between Reconstruction and the Gilded era, right? And he, before that, was interviewed by people like the press and all that shit, and they said, "What do you think about slavery?" Like when the Civil War was going on, before he became in office, right? And he said, "Well, I don't have a problem with it. Like it doesn't really affect, it didn't affect him, but he's like, I don't have a problem with it. People are going to do what they're going to do, blah, blah, blah." That was kind of his overall viewpoint. He didn't support it or was against it. He was just
I
kind of
could care less.
right. He's like, it's not really a big thing, but I don't really care. And then a couple of years ago, they were like, well, he was pro-slavery. It's like, no, he just didn't give a fuck. And they tried to rename all the things that were named after him
There's
or whatever.
still a ton of shit that's named after him.
Well, everybody's still like, it's Lake Calhoun. It's Lake Calhoun in Minneapolis. But it's like they tried to cancel a dude that's been dead for over 100 fucking years. And it's like, okay, he said he didn't have an opinion and he didn't care about it. That doesn't mean that he was pro-slavery or against it. He just said it. I don't know. Like, it doesn't affect me.
It literally never affected me. I grew up in
right
the middle of Whitetopia.
Well, they're like, well, he went down to the South a couple times when he was governor, and he spoke with these people in the South, and who were pro-slavery. It's like, okay, does that, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a fucking witch hunt at that point.
It's but it's not like he went down there with a whip that he personally just bought to go,
Right, exactly, and that's the way they phrase it. And I'm like, no. Like, the guy just, his statements were pretty benign, to be honest. And it's like, why are you trying to do this? Like, what is the end game? What is the goal? Like,
a lot of these people pick a topic simply because they want to have something like they made a difference, but they don't. They do it as like a line on their resume and then move on. I fought for social justice. What did you do? You didn't do anything. You just tried to make people uncomfortable.
I got
Right.
them to take down a statue, and taxpayers paid for it.
and everything's fucking solved. It's like, well, no, it's not. Like, what? It doesn't
No,
fucking.
it's not till they put some gaudy, stupid piece of crap, ugly as shit modern art sculpture in the same place.
Well, yes, kind of, yeah.
And then somebody graffitis it anyways.
Yeah, but like that's just what I'm saying. It's like it's just so fucking absurd. So we were sent this video by one of the usual members of this, but he's working and being a fucking wage slave, of course. So you guys have not? Did you guys watch that?
No,
Trey
I
sent
didn't watch
Nope,
it.
nope, nope.
I watched it. It's actually pretty funny.
I was focusing on listening to my two compatriots here and the information they had to share with me, myself.
Hey,
so I wanted to pay
Devin,
attention.
go fuck yourself. How about that? All right. So this
Sorry,
is
I
actually
just appreciate James more, I guess. Shit, fuck.
well. James is he's a fucking snake.
Qualified
in the grass.
museum director? You're
Snake
right.
in the grass. Snake in the grass.
See?
Not really a great dude. Not a terrible one. But well, he's getting more terrible. But okay, so check this shit out.
Oh, what the fuck?
Triggered by the terminology gun violence, try to deny that it exists.
Listen up here, snowflake conservatives. My wife left me, and I hear progressivism is how you get a woman in 2024. You got soft hands, brother.
I've been a strong proponent of the Second Amendment for a very long time. Lock up your guns, and let's make it 21 to buy a gun. Guns securely stored and your ammunition securely stored in separate locations.
As an NRA certified instructor and an HVAC technician in the Marine Corps from 81 to 82, I agree. I was also a certified forklift operator in 92, which makes me a subject matter expert. All right, listen here, Hoss. I just had to lay her down. Deborah got on my last nerve. I cranked the hog too hard, and I had to lay her down.
Have you seen any of the stupid videos about me being an anti-gun?
Hell yeah, brother. Welcome to that exact video as described by him. Well, good morning, Reddit. It is I, Vintage of the Austin Warfare channel, here today to talk about the most famous gun tube firearms instructor that side of the Mississippi. And that's going to be Double Out Sean. Now, what you might be wondering is, Austin, this guy just kind of does his little rootin' tootin' thing. You know, he shoots brass shotgun shells, which is kind of, he has no business being that cool. Why are you going after him? And to that, I would say, well, there's a lot of reasons. So let's get into what Sean does, okay? What he does is he does a lot of the equivalent of, I don't know, maybe some of you in the comments can tell me what you call that. Kind of like this weird northern weeaboo, like Civil War LARP, or, you know, a Red Dead, I'm the only sheriff in town, Hoss kind of thing. And if he just stuck to that, he would be cool, actually, in my book. But our boy is a bit of a political commentator, and he gives his opinions on things like abortion and things
He
not
doesn't.
guns.
He had Red Dead Redemption 2 as a hashtag.
This is the new Roaring 20s. We are going to have some responsible, reasonable, rational gun control. We're going to teach all gun owners to lock up their stuff. Keep your guns securely stored and your ammunition securely stored in separate locations.
And then he'll post a lot of videos of him kind of just shooting into random directions, oftentimes towards the direction of infrastructure in the area.
Hunting zombies. Happy Halloween!
Firearms and ammunition in separate locations. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go put one into the local power grid. I also find interesting about this whole thing is he actually has a bit of a track record as a firearms instructor. According to him, a famous one at that.
I became famous in Northwest Missouri in 2012. I held a concealed carry class. 105 people came on a Tuesday. Made a lot of people mad. Greedy instructors. Made a lot of people happy. I also pissed off the Democrat sheriff. I'm a Republican. Some of the Democrats went and complained to the Highway Patrol Station about my First Amendment right. That didn't work. They complained to the Attorney General. Sean Harper said something I didn't like at his concealed carry class. But I was afraid to speak up because he might not give me my certificate. Yeah, $50 for the certificate, half price. I made a lot of people.
Yeah, bro is famous because his CCW paperwork is not accepted in 5 counties.
Weird.
Definitely the world's best firearm instructor. In fact, he's such a good instructor that he had to rename his business as a result of its popularity. But hey, it's not all bad, okay? He's also quite the political commentator.
Messages for all the diehard patriots. You believe very strongly in the Second Amendment, and so do I. I also believe in freedom, women's freedom to choose. Don't you dare try to infringe on women's rights. We need common sense gun reform now. A person should be 21 years old to buy a badass PTR Model 91, 20 rounds of 308. 21 to buy a gun. The people who want to argue about the terminology gun violence have probably never read the owner's manual to their gun. They're just loud, obnoxious Second Amendment zealots that think everything is gun control. They're going to take our guns.
I'm really happy he's that progressive. Happy Juneteenth, by the way. The water's turning the frogs gay. Water's not making the frogs gay enough. And apparently Mr. Sean was very, very pro-Trump at a point, which, okay, I get it, guys. Bump stocks, I'm not here to argue that. But now he seems to be politically commentating a little bit more than he's making gun content at times.
For me, anybody but Trump in 24. Please remember, anybody but Trump in 24. I am so thankful and sarcastic that we have the Trump cult headquarters here in Northwest Missouri.
Listen up, liberal. I'm a Republican. You need to vote for the opposite of whatever your interests are. Cosmopolitan FUD brain rot is how I would describe him. And really, he has a following that he does is because some of you little Red Dead Redemption coomers, you like him shooting his guns at the local power grid. That's how I would describe him. Sean, you're not famous. You're notorious. That's going to do it for me today, guys. This is Austin Video.
Okay, so
That guy's awesome.
the old guy?
I want to take his class, yeah.
I bet him and Dragon Man would have a great time together.
No, but here's the thing that I noticed that I would like, this guy is either trolling, the old guy is either trolling so perfectly, or he actually believes that, which is also very likely. If he was that, one little bone I'd like to pick with him before we move on to other bigger, better things is if you should be 21 to buy a gun, then the draft age needs to be moved up as well to 21.
I think we should keep the right to vote to just white male property owners and
21 or older.
you know, like why don't we just go so far with it? Come on.
Yeah, you're also fucking Canadian. But like it's no, I mean, if you got to be fair, if you can't buy a gun at 18,
why do you keep doing that?
but you can be drafted, let's just up the age for everything to 21.
Well,
Everything.
I mean, why don't we go a little further and wait till everyone's brains are developing and just make it like 25?
Sure, but right now you
I
can be
think
drafted at 18 and
Or you come on.
carry a gun that's actually not legal for, or not. It's very difficult to get as a civilian. Like, so James, when I was in, when Devin was in, we carried select fire weapons, right? At 18, very, very young people. But we could still vote, or I could still vote. He was in Canada. But like,
I got to have Justin Trudeau as the guy for almost my entire life. So, still currently in office. He's been in office.
no, Virginia Reenactor. I know it's not the worst thing you said in the video, but like, here's the thing: is the sense I get from that old dude was that he was trolling really fucking hard because he said literally every major bullet point that would piss a fucking hardcore right winger, off. And I'm like, know your enemy, I guess. And if he does, he would say something like that. And also, he might have a fucking clue about how to get interaction. Bad interaction on social media is still interaction. That's how it counts in the algorithms.
Publicity is publicity.
What?
Publicity is publicity.
Yeah, for sure. And like, so that's where I don't know if he actually, I don't know. It's funny either way. But the kid's commentary, like the guy at the channel he's got, like that was decent commentary. But I'm like, yeah, it's the problem is I've met people like this old guy, and I'm like, I'm pro Second Amendment. Yeah, we should all have guns, and they're rocking the shit that he's rocking. But the way he shoots is actually not like totally unsafe. It's stupid. I
Well, it's
wouldn't do
weird
it.
once you realize that there was somebody behind that camera every time.
No, it wasn't. It was on a tripod. It was definitely on a tripod.
No, it wasn't. It was just some guy sitting way down there, like. All right, I got it.
I trust you. I trust you to dual wield and fucking sling some lead past my sides and oh shit, I got hit again. Fuck. But yeah. So, what do you think, James?
I think what I said earlier about patriotism sells can be used for good or it can be used for bad. And cases like him and Dragon Man use it for the bad.
Patriotism sells. That's why I was gung-ho about joining the military at 17 and like going to Iraq when I was 18. Because I thought that was the best thing that I could do for the world.
Well, I mean, like literally sells. Like
no, that's what I'm saying.
like
I sold my soul.
They're like,
yeah, I
hey,
sold my soul, and it also sells merchandise, which is
if
fun.
you love America, you're gonna like me and come hang out with me.
And that's the thing is like, yeah, it does sell. You're correct, but like, I myself and people who have seen through the bullshit, like yourself and Devin and whomever else, it can be very toxic. But what is your read on this old guy though? Like, is he trolling or is he?
No, he's in fucking insane, is what he is. He's
But is he?
Yeah, he's lost his damn mind.
Or is he just doing that? Is he saying everything, all the buzzwords to get a reaction?
Sure, but if his business is gun control, instructor, right?
Yeah, NRA. As soon as anybody ever says,
if his
I'm an
job
NRA certified instructor, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, this is not gonna get him business.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, I trust that man. Now, some people could troll. He's a typical idiot, but like me, the only reason I registered to vote when I turned 18 was to vote for Joe Exotic because I thought it was fucking hilarious. All right. He was running for governor that year and I could vote. Right. But like, that was me trolling because I was like, this guy's so stupid, but he's the same. This guy's the same way. He's like, no, I'm going to be like, I love America and I'm a badass. So people will come to me and see that and it's just no one wants to go to him. I'm not going to go to his class after watching that.
Yeah, but you know how many people do?
There's a bunch of people that flock to that. It's that echo chamber.
They love it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, even for that, then the answer is still the same. He's not trolling.
I don't think he was. I think he's literally.
No, that's what I'm saying. If people flock to that shit, then he's not
Yeah.
He's not trolling.
Well, and
He's
that's the thing is, I would like to
fucking stupid.
believe he's trolling because of the fact
There's-
that
Probably a level of showmanship there, not gonna lie, on his part, but he's doing all that knee-jerk stuff on purpose because he knows people react to it and they like it. They'll either hate it and interact and he still gets something out of it, or they'll fucking love it and flock to him.
True.
But you also got to be a part of that shitty knee-jerk camp to really want to put something that cringy out there. So there's probably a level of he actually believes that, and probably to a much smaller degree level of showmanship for that.
Okay, I could agree with that.
See?
yeah, and I see. His thing is, I don't know, but like from what obviously, my first reaction was, this guy's got to go. Like, is there something
That guy's a hero. How dare you?
Yeah, you fucking asshole. He
Chinese-
probably served with Dragon Man at Fort Bliss for a year.
Well, like the guy said in the video that the kid was talking about, like, I served in the Marine Corps as an HVAC specialist from 81 to 82. You know, like that kind of shit, you know?
He said that, and my first thought was fucking Dragon Man.
Well, speaking of the devil,
Dragon Man was actually a cable installer, but only for 9 months.
so let's see. Okay, I'll just I'll try to find all right, let's see, Dragon Man.
Oh no.
Do the Japanese room. We haven't done that yet.
Oh shit, I thought he had a lot more subs than that. No,
No, he's only got like what, couple 100,000?
Yeah, 256.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, his daughter she can get it barely, but like, yeah, she's all right.
I don't think that's
wow.
his daughter. I think that's his like niece or something.
No, it's his daughter. Like, it's the one with the crazy eyes we were talking about the other night.
I thought that was his niece.
No, his niece is blonde. She's
Oh.
okay. So, fucking God, I hate the way YouTube is. All right, so 2 weeks
hate the way
ago, 2 weeks
YouTube is.
ago, 3 weeks
Said
ago.
somebody who makes money on YouTube.
What?
Nothing.
No, like you were cutting out.
Oh, it's fine.
Melissa and Ava by supporting the Rockets. Oh God, he's put out some other scam setup. Tour the new garage going up. I'm just like looking at what video would. Oh, okay. Let's just do. This is a short one. Memorial Day weekend museum tours. Oh,
No, that sounds like a crappy one.
Yeah.
Pick a room. Pick a cool room.
All right, fucker.
I want to learn.
Work.
I want to learn from the
Oh,
dragon.
well, this is a Battle of the Bulge display, but it's
Oh.
2 minutes long.
All right.
Okay,
Well, to be
let's.
fair, it was a pretty easy footprint that nothing happened in the war. So.
All right, so oh, he's got a leather jacket on. All right, let me share this. There we be. All right, so okay, this is oh God already.
Oh, look at all the fake Christmas trees.
Yeah, he's got a fucking 20-pound fire extinguisher there. Nice. Well, I mean, I respect that, but okay, let's go.
That's what he sprays on the trees for the snow.
I'm in the Colorado Springs Military Museum. It's open for the season every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, starting at 10 o'clock. We only give one tour each one of those 3 days. Okay, so anyway, this is my Battle of the Bulge display, and you don't get any more realistic than this. The Battle of the Bulge, December 16th, 1944,
Nope.
January 25th, 1945. And all these weapons you see here, these are real guns and real bullets. All these weapons work, almost 2,500 of them.
No, they don't.
This was Hitler's last stand to stop the Allies from coming into Germany. And the 101st Airborne, they got surrounded over there at Bastogne. And General Patton, with 3 divisions, came to save him. the 3rd Armored Division, the 4th Armored Division, and the 28th
10th?
Infantry.
Oh,
A
no.
division of men is 15,000 men. That's 45,000 men. That's when General Patton earned his 3rd star. Okay, and then April 14th, 1945, General Patton earned his 4th star and became a 4-star general. You want to learn a lot more about Battle of the Bulge and all the other major wars in World War II, going back to George Washington, our first president, 1789, you come and join me this summer. You won't be disappointed. I guarantee it.
Can I have my money back then?
I was just gonna say you guarantee it, because where do we even begin on this one? This is 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. The people were correct. It gets worse as we go back. Okay. So General Patton, we'll just go there. This is what I'm going to start out with. Saved them with 3 divisions. No, he was commanding the 3rd Army at that point, which had several divisions in it. The 28th was not one of those. The 28th got absolutely fist fucked, and they were also mostly fighting in the Hurtgen Forest, a little bit south of there, and it was way worse than Bastogne. Okay, for starters, in the 28th, there was elements, I don't know the exact companies or whatever, that were in Bastogne that got fucking destroyed by the initial push. Yes. They were not part of the fucking relieving force that Patton took, because it wasn't in his fucking command. What?
No, it's fine. It's all good. Look at. You can
That's
tell
just one thing.
he's got all those like Vietnam era M1 helmets down there.
Yeah. So James, what are you processing right now?
Well, same thing, just the overall design, same exact thing I've said.
Yeah.
He's got plastic on everything, the Christmas trees, the fake snow on things.
That's real cocaine.
I guarantee that's not good for the artifacts. No information. Random photos, and if he's the one teaching, based upon his little, as you just pointed out, based upon his own little synopsis, I'm afraid of what he's teaching. And then my other real thought is, how many fucking medic uniforms and armbands and
He's
helmets?
Obsessed.
Every exhibit has to have at least 8 medics.
They were important, okay? That was 70% of the U.S. Army. Don't you know that?
And what's the point of all of these like guys on stretchers? Like this is what it would have looked like.
Stuff to do. They can't always be mounting machine guns.
But that's my whole point. Is like, what's the point of it? This is what a guy would have looked like if he was laying on a stretcher. Okay, what did this do? What did you teach? Nothing.
He taught that you can lay a mannequin down and it'll look not convincing at all.
This is a fucking Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I've seen this guy for years, and it's just like, but it was always a cringe thing. I'm like, fuck him. Now going like deeper into the archives, and this is like, what, 2 weeks ago?
This is 2 weeks ago?
Or 2 months ago. Sorry.
Oh my God.
So April 19th. And so this is very recent. The Battle of the Bulge. Also, why are you promoting this at this point? Because it happened. He said, his dates were fun too. Like December 16th to January 20th. It's like, no, the battle started in early December. There's no specific date to it because it happened, again, like most shit that happens in military history. It's like yeah, this day this happened, you know, and then the next day, and then when do you actually codify when like the battle was actually happening, right? No,
Yeah.
you can't do
You got
that.
all your skirmishing and your probing, and then
Right.
yeah.
And it's like, so basically the thing that the numbers that I've always had, and James, correct me if I'm wrong, was December 15th through January 20th. That was when the main shit went down. Okay. From 44 to 45. And that's the basic thing. But he's just throwing out random dates. And just, again, we were talking about the other night, is coming from a position of authority. This is when it happened. This is what went down. Well, no.
Hey, at least we got to learn that Patton got his 4th star way after the battle.
Oh my God. And Patton literally was like the only guy that had an army that was okay on strength, not good, and then was like, okay, we'll go there, and nobody there ever fucking said they need to be rescued, even though it was fucked. Like the Battle of Bulge was like, that was a really bad series of battles, and like the campaign, that whole thing. It was not Hitler's last stand.
Next thing you're going to tell me is that there was a big war going on.
Oh, there was? Was there?
Not according to this guy. It all happened right then.
So you're gonna tell me that you're gonna fucking blow smoke up my ass and tell me there was a war in the Pacific at this time? Come on, what are you doing? But no, okay. So getting back on topic, and like whatever, like this he's doing the typical like really dumb perspective of like saying that it was Hitler's last stand. No, it was one of the high command's last pushes to see if they could break the Allied lines, because the Allied lines were actually very weak. Okay, and that's something that they'll never teach either, because the Allies were always good. No,
they had the upper hand in every single scenario, and they always just bam, bionic elbow.
This was not Hitler's last stand. Like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure Hitler's last stand was putting that gun in his mouth in that bunker.
Yeah, with cyanide to back it up. Like, it's like, okay. I understand where he's coming from. I understand why he's saying what he's saying. I don't agree with it, though, at all, because it's inaccurate. And it's like, no, Hitler's last, I guess, offensive, big push. Yeah, that's the Ardennes offensive, right? The Battle of the Bulge, whatever. But it was not his last stand. So again, choose your wording very well, like James was talking about earlier.
He's so sure, though.
Let me see if I can find something. Hang on.
Yep. But yeah, it's just like it's kind of a. And then yeah, fucking Patton came and saved them. No, that's not how that worked out. Like, the Germans put up a hell of a fucking offensive. The Americans were not in a good spot at all. The British were not in a good spot at all. The Canadians were not in a good spot at all.
Well, everybody was stretched so super thin. They just
and that's the thing, is the Germans were also stretched thin because of how far they had all these units that they reconstructed, and like, okay,
yeah,
all right. Oh, well, you're from 4 SS units. Well, you're not, now you're in this unit. Okay, go.
Yeah, well, they had to reconsolidate after losses and stuff. The Allies had to do the same thing, but also the Allies had to cross all of this ground in 6 months, fighting the whole time.
And so everybody was at their wits' end, and the Allies just happened to fucking be able to hold it back for a bit, and then push back. And it was like, again, it's like you're in the fucking 5th round in a boxing match, right? You've been both beating the fuck out of each other for so long, and you get a little bit of wind. One guy gets a wind, rocks a guy in the face, but he's still up. He gets back up. Well, what do you do then? Because you're both smoked. You're fucked. And it's like, that like,
they should have just sat down and let the Russians do more work. They're willing to throw people at anything.
Yeah. Well, they were going through a lot of this shit, but like, people always say like, oh, the Western Allies won the Second World War. No, they didn't. They
lost
created
less.
enough of a fucking distraction and lost enough guys and held them up for the Soviets to come in and do what they always intended.
I mean, you've heard me say it a bunch of times, and it's one thing I really like to say. It's like nobody actually wins a war. Somebody just loses less.
Less, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is everybody loses in a fucking war. Everybody loses.
Except for the big businesses. They make tons of money.
Correct. Yep.
Henry Ford made more fucking bank than he could ever spend.
You're always focused on Ford. You should look up DuPont.
Oh, I love DuPont. They're a great chemical company.
Yeah.
But they're
There you
more
go.
into fucking the Americans over.
Here you go. So
Right.
this photo is the First Division Museum's exhibit on the Battle of the Bulge. And I think they painted it white, and so it's changed a little bit, right? But this is perfect because when you walk into this room, this is what you see, right? And do you see where the tank and the mannequins are all pointing? It forces you to turn your head to the right, and on the right side is where their text panels are, and a video and artifacts. And it's really cool. They have a flag, a Nazi flag, and then they have a video of that Nazi flag being run over by half tracks in the town, and then it was picked up by a guy that filmed it. Right, but this is like, it's simple. You don't have to teach anything with this. You get a good representation, and then your eyes go over to the part that actually is educational.
Yeah.
This is how you should do it with mannequins and equipment. You should use it as a tool to direct people to the information you want them to learn. Not,
I think we should have a mountain of shit covered in plastic.
yeah, like why don't we just cover it all with plastic and not teach anyone anything?
That's not true.
Well-
He got some of the dates sort of kind of in the right ballpark.
Yeah. But again, it yeah, okay. But
I'm sure there was a medic there at some point. They
let's see.
kinda
I'm
maybe
gonna
sort of worked like
find
Someone
a different
said-
video.
His rarest item video.
Oh, that's
Rarest item?
the belt buckle.
They might have more than one of this. Is rarest items.
Yeah, he's got a list of like his top 5 rarest items.
I
but
wanna
it's
see
shit
'em.
we've all seen pretty much before.
God damn it. Rarest.
Quit jacking it so hard.
Okay. Yeah, here it is. All right. Let's check this out together.
Rarest thing to have at a military museum, right over here, the belt buckle.
Okay, yeah, we've seen this. We've already talked about it.
And what makes mine very special, the serial number is number 1. They were issued to 15 SS officers. They only made 15 of them.
Where's your
This is the
documentation?
biggest tank. I have the T-54. It's got a 100mm gun. It's got night vision. The lights work. The armor is 4.5 inches thick, 600 horsepower diesel motor, and it's fully operational. Here's the machine gun,
Shit.
7.62 54 that goes on top of the turret.
That's
This is one of the most interesting rooms that I have, World War II. These are all original everything. Okay, this one here's Sobor concentration camp,
Sobor.
Auschwitz, Buchenwald, Dachau. All original uniforms.
Yeah.
This is the claw. The serial number on it is 124. And this was used to pull the bodies out of the gas chambers. We have 58 cans dated 1943, full Zyklon B gas pellet. See that? You won't
Look like that.
museum because they won't allow it. Liberator pistol. These were made by GMC. Chevy got the contract in 1943 to make 1 million of those throwaway guns. They were put in these cardboard boxes with 13 bullets and that stick, and those directions how to load it.
The idea was to load the 45 bullet into the Liberator, get back in your foxhole, get back in the basement, wait for the enemy to pass, shoot him, get his equipment, and liberate your country.
Wait a fucking second. This I can't let go. Like, what did he just say? Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
We heard it. Keep going. I want to know what else he's got that's rare.
This is my 1943 workable dog tag machine. These are the first dog tags issued to the American soldiers in 1916, World War I.
19...
And then in 1936 to 71, this is what the dog tags look like. See, they have notches in them. The notches were in the dog tags
The tooth?
to put in the corpse's mouth in between his teeth so they could identify the body. Very rare.
It wasn't.
The Sinai, like Joseph Goebbels, all these head guys, even Hitler took to kill themselves.
Hitler.
And this is the little container they had hidden somewhere in a uniform. And watch how perfect the cyanide comes out of that tube. Look at that. You just bite the glass little vial, the cyanide will foam up your saliva, and you're dead within 2 minutes. You'll never see this at another museum. These are my recordless rifles. I have all three variations. This is the 57, the 75, and 106. The 57 and the 75, they used right through World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. This one here, the 106, was made and designed in 1948. It was used in Korea and Vietnam. In this room, I have 58 ceramide swords. This is the oldest one I have and most valuable. It's over 650 years old. It was an honor for the Japanese soldiers to take the family ceramide sword into battle. Very rare stuff. I have 4 17th century ceramide sword fighters uniforms. The Japanese crossbow, over 400 years old, and the first black powder Japanese rifle. In my World War I room, and this is Lieutenant Jim Butler's uniform. And what makes him really special, here's a picture of Jim Butler wearing this uniform 105 years ago. Not only that, but this is the way he folded his uniforms in his footlocker and put them away before he passed away.
Yeah. It's not his.
Okay, this is the oldest Army vehicle I have. 1917, the serial number is 147. It's only one of 1,000 made by the Dart brothers. Yep. See that flag over there, 45 stars. It was made 1896. It makes that 127 years old. I have the original tools that were issued to all these vehicles, and they're all dated 1917. This is as close as you get to the gun that shot Lincoln. And this is the size of the ball that went into Lincoln's head, April 14th, 1865, the Henry Derringer. Some very special weapons from the Civil War. This is the 4570 trapdoor Springfield Armory rifle that George Custard's cavalry used against the Indians at Little Bighorn. And this is the rifle, the most up-to-date rifle in that period, the Spencer repeating rifle that the Indians used to shoot George Custard's men. The American Revolutionary War, when the French came back to help George Washington, this is the rifle that the French Army used, 78 caliber flintlock. Okay, the British used this 78 caliber flintlock to fight George Washington and the French. These are very, very rare. Come out and check them out.
All right.
In the comments, like, suggested this.
With that, I gotta go take this phone call. You have fun because I know you're gonna blow a gasket.
I'm not. I'm gonna blow a gasket because you're fucking flaking on me.
Go fuck. It's been 2.5 hours. Go fuck
you gonna go talk to Stevie Wonder?
Yeah.
He's gonna go talk to Dragon Man.
Tell him to go fuck himself. By the way, from me.
Oh yeah, well, 100%. That's
Tell him I said hi. He doesn't know who I am.
I'll do that, Dan.
Yeah. There you go.
Great. Yeah, I'm gonna rewatch this to hear what you have to say about Dragon Man because I want to know what you say. But I gotta.
I'm pretty burned out at this.
He's
point.
the most professional museum owner.
That was fucking just.
I got nothing. Good. You doing the best. Good luck.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, but I don't think there's anything that nobody already knows. It's always bad.
Yeah.
George Custard.
Custard is something that I get at Culver's. And it's
Yeah.
fun. It's good.
He also died at the Little Bighorn. They named that dessert after him.
Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ. Like, it gets worse as we keep going on these videos. I'm like...
Well, I think he just gets more and more delusional as he goes on.
It's like, what the fuck, though? Like, dude, everything like, you know this, and you're the same way, is like, everything I have in my collection, I will be able to tell you everything
About it that I know. Yeah.
Yep. And he...
Like, a lot of his shit just shows up, though. He doesn't pay for it. It just gets given to him. And he doesn't care. He has so much shit. Like, the most that he knew was the room that had nothing to do with the Military History Museum. It was his fucking 1950s and 60s room.
Right.
And that's because he lived through it, so he gets to fucking talk about it. So, that's it.
Yeah, it gets to a point where it's like, it's not even fucking funny. It's just like, good God. Like, what are you doing?
I like the entertainment value.
Oh, yeah, but it's like, at a certain point,
I
I'm
can
like...
appreciate something for the entertainment value.
Here's the thing that I think about, and I should probably just fucking let this go, but like, is how many fucking people has he told completely wrong shit to, who are going to take that and then just perpetuate all this bullshit?
Tens of thousands.
Right. And it's like,
we should go there and take his tour. $20.
Yeah, but like,
he said he guaranteed.
Actually, Colorado's not that far. Actually, it's like halfway.
Not. It's a lot closer than people seem to think. So.
Well, it's halfway between like Texas and here, and it's like, well, it's actually a little bit farther. But like,
I was gonna say it's west, but
right, but it's
from
like,
where I am, it's a day's drive. You can get there in a day. So,
well, maybe we should, maybe us nerds should go there and just take his tour and just shut the fuck up during the whole thing, and then be like, oh my God.
I wonder if he'll let us video it while we're in there. And then we can all do reactions to the video afterwards.
Well, how many reactions are currently on Facebook? Or I'm sorry, on YouTube or any social media, really?
I don't know.
There's not.
Well, probably because he doesn't let you film.
That's what I mean. So it's like, yeah, that's probably not going to be a thing, but like,
we'll have to put on my spy coat, I guess, that has the little button camera.
Well, why the fuck would you say that publicly?
Huh? Doesn't matter. I'm not doing it currently that anyone's aware of.
Yeah, but like, because here's the thing: is like, the best thing I could hear from a person with a museum or whatever is, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool, fine.
Well, that's the thing. I'm sure he has questions, a part where he answers questions, and we could ask him a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but then yeah.
I mean, he only does one tour a day. He's got all fucking day for it. I'm sure the tour is multiple hours long because he just wants to fucking prattle off shit and show off, you know.
That would be interesting to like go down and just do a fucking impromptu, like, hey, yeah, oh cool, yeah, everything's cool, yeah.
I like it.
But
well, this is all real. Can we go outside and crank one off out of this machine gun you got here?
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay. If one of us gets hurt, we can, rub that iodine on ourselves. That's really...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's still sterile, right? 42 or 43? What did you say?
It should be. It's in a glass ampule, so it shouldn't break down.
Yeah, I mean, I've got iodine just like here.
Yeah.
And it's not in the sun. It's like in a closed thing.
Well, if it's in a container where the seal's been broke, it will go bad. But like the reason they put them in glass ampules is for long-term storage.
Yeah, but it's still like I wouldn't trust that.
I mean, it's probably going to do better than nothing. If anything, it's some kind of liquid to wash shit out of a cut or whatever.
Right, but like it won't necessarily have the antimicrobial and bacterial effects that it should have.
Like, there's so much shit that's better than iodine now.
Well, is there? Because most surgeons still use iodine.
It's iodine mixed with other stuff. It's not straight iodine.
Right. Well, still, like it does do its job.
It does
Like,
do its job, and it was great for the time. It really was. But
well, it's still great. Like I'd argue that.
Yeah.
Like it's still good for
the
getting
thing about iodine, though, is why they went away from it. Is that a lot of people are very allergic to it.
Well, and they also burns people and shit like that. It's like certain people just don't react well to it, and I don't have an adverse reaction to it, and it seemed to have worked. Like
Well, the
when I had
thing
my
is, like,
surgery,
you know somebody who's allergic to shellfish?
I do actually, yeah.
Yeah, they're not actually allergic to shellfish. They're allergic to the iodine in
No,
shellfish.
they're allergic to chitin, the material that's made of, like, what makes their shells.
So
That's
it
they're
has
allergic to.
shellfish in general, like their makeup contains a lot of iodine, and that's usually what a lot of people that are allergic to shellfish are actually allergic to the iodine that's in and comprises their body. So
Okay. I don't know enough about that, so yeah.
it's just one of those things that I happen to know and sealed it back in my head.
Okay.
Because at one point I really wanted to be a medic, but then I decided that's not fun. I don't want to do that.
No, you're an infantryman with a lot of extra shit to carry and a lot of extra things to worry about.
That's fair. I did take a combat lifesaver course. It was not helpful at all. But
Well, yours is also a lot different than ours. Like we did fucking IVs and fucking, how to set bones before they get to the hospital, all that shit, because you get a certain amount of time. But like,
no, ours was basically like, don't touch them. Wait till actual doctor gets there.
right.
Your job's to basically stop bleeding and make sure they're breathing. Everything else is fine.
That's our like basic first aid, what we were taught, and
Yeah.
CLS. And then here's the thing: is you go through CLS. Like when I was in, you went through CLS, and then you learn how to do all that shit. And then when you're in your unit and there's downtime, the medics will just go, "Hey, gather the fuck around here," and then they're going to teach you things that are beyond what you were taught in CLS. And I'm like, oh, okay. They taught us how to like trach people.
Yeah.
They're like, if it really comes down to that, here's how you do it, and whatever. And like, if we would have had to do that, thank God we never fucking did. But like, we could have done it half-assedly. It's like they're gonna die, or you can possibly give them life. Okay, well, we're gonna take the other option.
Yeah.
And we're gonna try it at least. But like, they taught us, our medics, like, they went above and beyond just to teach us shit, because they're like,
it helps out for more people to know stuff. Having cross training is actually.
Well, that's the thing, is the medics were always like, well, what if I go down? What if I get shot? What if I get blown up? You guys have to know this shit.
And you have 2 or 3.
What?
Just be like Canada and making sure there's 2 or 3.
2 or 3 what?
Medics.
There's not, though.
How does the U.S. not have 2 to 3 medics?
Dude, we ran 1 medic per platoon.
What?
Yeah.
We had like 1 per squad.
No, we had a medic per platoon.
That's fucked.
Yeah. That's why they taught us. They're like, hey, if I go down, if I get hit, I want you to be able to do this shit. And
well, yeah, for us, I think having 1 per squad made a lot of sense, because you have, because if he's not doing medical stuff, cool, he's just another infantryman.
Well, not really. We always I guess, okay, so this is cool. Like, this very different. Like in the U.S. Army, like, we always protected the shit out of our medics.
Yeah, because they were like a lot more valuable.
Right, but we also had 1 per platoon.
Yeah,
so it's like 20 to 30 guys, depending on what you're at. But like, and yeah, they wanted to be like helping us, and like, yeah, they had guns and shit like that. Like, they had ammo and all their extra shit. But like, we protected them. We're like, you stay right here with this guy or these 2 guys, and we're gonna go up and do this. And if we call for you, go in.
I mean, we don't want you to be first.
Yeah.
And then a medic second.
Well, that's the thing, is like, they always wanted to go in with us, and like, whatever it was,
they can help you the fastest if they're right there.
Yeah, and then we're like, no, this is how it has to be, because again, like you said,
if
you go down, we're fucked completely.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like it's old school.
Just
It's like
take
old
some
world
Motrin,
shit,
change your socks, and drink some water. It's fine.
right? But no, the medics, like, I mean, we protected them, but like we also were like, we understand you know how to do infantry shit, and like you're going to do it,
Mhm.
and you know sometimes we let them do that shit and whatever. Like, so they have training. Like, we cross train everyone.
Yeah.
Everything in the infantry was like, okay, so medical, okay, this is what you have to do, blah 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 blah. Finance. They actually they would sit us down with our like 42 alphas they were at that point, like the clerks and shit that did like all the paperwork, and they'd be like,
Yeah.
we need you to do this. This can make our life easier. Okay, cool, fine. Everybody they set us down.
It weirds me out that the U.S. just didn't have had such a so dissimilar thing from somebody else because a standard Canadian squad was 10 people.
Yeah, and the standard American squad when I was in was 13. It was 13 people. Was like the minimum.
Yeah, that's
And
bigger than I thought. I thought it was smaller than that for the U.S.
no, because you have
a lot of squads that were like 5 to 7.
right. Our squads consisted of, well, when we deployed it was different, but then it changed a lot. But usually a squad is 2 fire teams. Each fire team is led by an E5. Ideally, right? I'm going way down. So you have 2 fire teams per squad. Each one is led by an E5, so a sergeant, and then you get your staff sergeant, who is your squad leader. I know the Marine Corps it's different and all that shit, but like that was like the basic infantry squad. Is 2 fire teams and a squad leader. And so it was 13 people because the 3 people after the 10 were the NCOs and whatever. And so you've got, math is not my good suit. You have 4 or 5 guys per fire team, and then whatever. But when you have more people, you have to adapt to that. You create another team, get another E5 or somebody, you know, who's a team leader. Like, you know, they can do the job.
Convoluted if you start changing stuff.
Right, and it constantly changes. But like,
I understand, like you guys want to keep like your leadership separate, but like in Canada, it's 10 guys. One squad is led by the sergeant. The second squad of 5 guys is led by the second in command, who's usually a corporal, and then the first squad that usually the sergeant has is the machine gun squad. Okay, so you get your 2 people there, your gunner and your assistant gunner. Then you have a grenadier, and then you have 1 rifleman.
Yeah, that's okay. That's how it works. So, okay, I'll just break it down this way. So, my platoon, which is it was about 30 guys when I was in. When we deployed, it was a lot more, but like relatively 30 guys per platoon. You have first squad, who has a squad leader, 2 fire teams. And that's your first squad. Those are usually the assault squad guys.
Okay.
Like they're the ones when you do Balger 1 Alpha. Your second squad, which is consisted of the same amount of people with rifles and grenadiers and a saw, at least 1 saw. They'll do that, and they'll do the, you know, this kind of thing. Balger 1 Alpha is
different because you have all these different teams that are for different things. Whereas ours is all the same no matter what you did. Your infantry squad was the same no matter what. You always had 1 machine gun group, 1 grenadier, 1 designated marksman, 1 medic.
Per squad. And that's what I'm saying is like, so I'm saying first squad was a certain kind of job. Second squad was another job. And then, I mean, you're all the same, yes.
Yeah, which is weird because like you have the specialized jobs for your squads, whereas ours was all just every squad was the same.
Right. And so, but what I'm saying is, so I've never mentioned machine guns in these first squads, right?
Yeah.
And up to third squad was basically the guys to go fill in for guys if they get hit or, you know, to do all that shit and also participate in the action and all that shit. But like fourth squad was called weapon squad.
Yeah.
You had myself, who was one of the gunners. You had 2 240 gunners in the weapon squad of the platoon, right? And so myself and I can't remember who the fuck was the other 240 gunner because it changed a lot. But like basically you have a squad leader, an E6, right? And then you've got your team leaders, but it's a weapons team leader, which is you have to have them be very experienced and specialized.
Yeah.
That's how it worked for us. And I was in when we deployed, I was in 2nd squad of 1st platoon of my unit, and that was fun. I carried a rifle. I carried a saw a lot of times, but then I could just go back and forth between the rifle and the saw, blah blah blah. But when I went to weapons squad, they're like, "You're the gunner, and that's your assistant gunner, your fucking ammo bearer, all that shit for your team, your gun team, basically." Because a 240 is a crew serve weapon.
Yep.
Technically.
GP machine gun, yeah.
Yep. And yeah, okay, that happened like that, but like, yeah, it seems like it's very different because you said you had machine guns in
every squad had a machine gunner, a designated marksman, a medic, a grenadier, and then the rest were riflemen.
Okay, so you say machine gunner, what were they carrying?
It was usually a C9 or a C6.
Which is
a 240 and a 249.
Oh, really? It's a 240.
Yeah. The C6
in a regular common. Like in a regular squad.
Yeah.
Huh.
But like most of the time it was the 249, but there was quite a few squads that had.
Okay, so that is similar. Like, because our 1st through 3rd squads, they had at least one saw gunner.
A lot of it was because they didn't want to carry too many different kinds of ammo, so the saw gunner could share ammo with everyone.
Sure.
And vice versa. But then it started to be like, well, why the fuck are we doing that? Because the designated marksman's going to have a 7.62 weapon anyways.
Yeah, we didn't actually deal with DMRs in our.
Every squad had one. So.
Yeah, and in our the way we were set up at that point, our TO&E and all that shit, we didn't have DMRs. Those were for the scouts, like which were separate from us. But like, as far as like just a line infantry company, when I was in, again, this has changed, all that shit, and it has changed. But like, it was like I just said, and our weapons squad was totally different. Like from
the only change what we would see sometimes is sometimes there would be a squad where the machine gunner and the assistant gunner would be there, and it'd be replaced with a mortar and an assistant mortar.
Well, okay. So mortars, they're infantry as well. Like they're 11 Charlies, they're not 11 Bravos because they have an extra school and different MOS. But like the 11 Charlies, they were in the headquarters company of our battalion, right? And they'd be farmed out. Like, oh, you need 3 or 4 mortar teams for your company for what you're doing. Okay, we'll farm them out to you. Just like our medics were also in HHC. They were in the headquarters company, and they'd be like, okay, well, Bravo Company has usually 2 platoons, so we're gonna need 3 medics there, right? And they'd farm them out. They were never consistent. It's whatever company in the battalion that you had to be farmed out.
Needlessly, like unplanned. Just
what?
That's just to have a better system where everybody has a place instead of this whole farming it out thing.
Well, it was weird. Yeah, I mean, like, of course, there's nothing I can do about it.
Like they pick and choose where to do and what to do. It's like in Canada, it was like you have your squads. Cool, your mortar squad people, they're no difference, but they're usually back because they're more of a support squad. Whereas your regular machine gun squad is going to go forward.
Well, no,
like you're still all going forward. You all have a DMR. You all have a grenadier. You all have a medic.
Right. And it was weird too, is like one of the things that like people don't think about is like when I was in, usually you'd have a grenadier in a squad, right? At least one. They change. So I don't know if I've told this before, but like in 2009, when I got into the unit, or I got into the unit in 2008, but like when we really like deployed and all that shit, all that shit was changing right when I got out of basic. And what they did is they took the 203s on the M4s and they issued them to team leaders.
Why?
And here, okay, because they can shoot flares to direct fire.
You know what else can do that? Flares that have the little pop ropes on them.
Yeah.
See, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that?
It doesn't. But here's the thing: is so our team leaders, when I deployed, had 203s. All of them had 203. You could tell who was an E5 or an E4P. Like
That's just too much for them to focus on. Let them focus on.
They have to carry all that extra weight too. It's like,
and besides, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. The grenadier who learned on that, give him the fucking grenade launcher.
That was a lot of. some of the team leaders were good with them.
Yeah.
Some were just like, I've
They
shot it a
just have
couple
to have
times.
it. Yeah.
No, and like, you know, some friends of mine, like they were really good at grenadiers. Like they literally didn't need to use the sights or anything on a
It's something I
203. They
wish
could just
I
be
was
like,
good at.
pop, you know, whatever. You could, any distance, you call it out, they're going to hit it. They were issued M4s. Just, you know, just regular
Bare
M4s.
bones M4s, yeah.
And it's like, well, why don't you have, but whatever. Like that's
Like
how
we had
it
some
worked.
grenade because we were so hurting for grenade launchers for so long. We had some grenadier squads where the guys just got extra frag grenades. Your grenadier literally just had extra frag grenades,
Oh God. Love
and it
that.
was like because you know Canada was hurting for shit for so long, you know, for a while there. That some guys like in the back reserve squads, there'd be the grenadiers, and they would literally just have like 10 fucking hand grenades.
That's a World War One grenadier. You know?
Yeah, it's like, what are we doing here? You
Yeah.
know? But like you also had so many different like people with DMRs. You would have people that were issued old fucking FALs. You would have guys that would have M14s. You would have people that had brand new fucking M110s. You know, like no rhyme or reason to it. You would have, you know, machine gunners, like I said, you would have people with old fucking Woodstock C6s out there in the field. You know, which is just a 240, but
yeah, it's just well, also your budget's a lot smaller and all that shit.
It's minuscule. We fucking nearly bankrupt Canada just.
But it's still like our budget being as big as it was not allocated very well.
No, well, it seems like too many people were sticking their fingers in everything.
Well, and that's the thing is like, so our infantry company, very lethal, very good people, very smart people.
Yeah,
we can do anything with what we've got. But it was like, why not?
Grenadiers 10 hand grenades.
No, they actually gave them 45 mics. But like, they're like, well, how do I store this then? Like, you're not giving me the correct pouches.
Yeah.
You know, like do I put them in my pockets? Like, what the fuck? And so
you issue a uniform like the Canadians, where your belt is for pouches of weird stuff, and your clothes get all the magazines.
Right. Well, that didn't work out like that. But like, because they could have ordered pouches for the grenadiers, like the chest rigs. It's just like a belt.
Yeah.
And they did that before. You know, when the unit that I was in deployed the first time they did that, they didn't do it with us, and they're like, you'll figure it out. And it's like, okay, well,
I just want to be carrying a bunch of loose explosives.
Exactly, and it's like, and they're like, oh, you don't need these. Okay, fine. They're like, yeah, we don't need the fucking 203s, but keep it on your weapon, so you carry it around for whatever.
Keeps the recoil down when you shoot because it weighs a lot.
God, yeah, dude, an M4 is a lightweight weapon, and you put a 203 on that thing, it gets heavy.
It gets heavy real fast.
It gets really heavy.
It goes from 6 pounds to fucking 8 pounds real quick.
Yeah, so. But it's like, being the weapons squad like I was when we got back, the gunner, like, you get your squad leader, your team leader. As the gunner, I'm on the same level as the team leader. He just directs fire. And my assistant gunner, who, it was funny, I think I told you about this, but I don't know if I told this on stream, is like, we did not get along. For our whole deployment, we did not get along. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden we get back and they rearrange everything again. And they're like, all right, Birch, you're a gunner, 240 gunner. I'm like, great. I love the weapon. It's cool, but I didn't like carrying the thing.
It's the heaviest fucking thing you can
Oh, God. And it's awkward. And they're like, okay, so-and-so, you're his AG, and then ammo bearer is this person. And I just look at him and I went, so, and he goes, yeah, we're good. Let's just fucking.
Yep, let's just do the thing. At least I will say this, our 240 gunners didn't have to deal with the fucking pintle mount on their 240s.
Yeah, that's a bitch.
Yeah, having to deal with that thing, because like we had ones that were just meant for ground use.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the pintle mount on them.
Well, that's the thing is like, so my assistant gunner carried the spare barrel bag with all that shit, all the mounts and everything in there.
Yep.
He carried that. I didn't make him carry ammo. I said that's the ammo bearer's job. And he carried one, like a box, like 200 rounds.
Yeah.
And that's it. I'm like, the ammo bearer, that's his job. But here's the thing is like when we got past, like it was immediate, like we were just good. And like from there on out, we never had a problem. And he was a good assistant gunner as well. Because he also knew that I knew what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah.
I need help. He'd be like, here's the belt. I'd be like, yep. I would load my gun because he knew I was very particular about it.
Yeah.
And he would just get it ready. And I literally, all I had to do was just put my hand over here, grab the belt, throw it in the gun, feed tray cover down, good to go. And then he would sit there and make sure it was going to feed right. He didn't sit there and hold it like you see in the movies and shit.
You don't need to do that.
No, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
But he would make sure, like out of the box or the pouch or whatever the fuck it was in,
it's lined up right, so it'll just go.
But he would also, because the ammo bearer that we had was, he was an E1 at the time. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck. I should look to see if he's actually in still, because he would have been. He was a good kid, but he was
like suicide or something.
No, nothing like that. But like we made him carry all the fucking ammo because he was the ammo bearer, right?
Yeah.
But he was good too because my assistant gunner would fucking get on his ass and be like, and my assistant gunner was outranking me. That's the thing is he was at E4, I was at E3.
Yeah.
It was just fucking hilarious. But we both deployed on the same thing, and he knew all that shit. And but he would make sure the assistant gunner, this new guy, knew how to do that. And this guy was good. He was a great ammo bearer. And my AG was awesome. And when we went out like to qual or just to, do whatever fire on the range at 240, it was just a fucking well-oiled machine. It was really good. And it was like, I'm confident in my entire team. Because like, that's something the squad leader asked you about. I was like, are you confident with your team? And I'm like, I am. Because if I wasn't, I would have been like,
we had some more medics, and the grenadiers got the grenade launcher.
That's out of our control.
Yeah, we could have voiced concern about it. If enough people voice concern about it, eventually some general gets a memo 10 years down the road after everyone's out.
But. Well, we did. We're like, why is there one medic per 30 guys? Like
that's not economic.
We guys are CLS qualified. That was their excuse.
Well, I mean, technically you were.
We were, but I'm like, it's not.
That's not really medic. Putting the odds in your favor.
That's advanced first aid, is what that is.
But I mean, you look at like out of our 30 guys, you're getting 5 medics.
Right, and that's the thing is like I disagree with the. I don't know how it's changed since I got out, fucking 12 years ago, but like when we were in, there were not enough medics, and we all felt compelled to learn more as much as we possibly could.
Yeah, like, it's gonna pay off in the end.
Right, like we're like fuck. I mean, even the medics were like,
yeah, we're not gonna be able to handle all this.
Right.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, well, here's how it is, but that's how we operated, and that's how a lot of guys that were in GWAT, like OAF, OEF, that's how they've said the same thing to me. They're like, yeah, 1 medic per platoon if you're lucky.
That's retarded.
Yeah, it is retarded, and
they should fix that.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing: is a lot of medics got fucking hit.
Yeah, wrecked.
And it's like they got wrecked, and then the infantry guys have to fucking try to do their job.
The thing is, like, as much as they look like regular infantry dudes, you can pick a medic out. If you know
he's carrying a bunch of extra shit. That's why. Yeah.
But it's like if you know what you're looking for, you can pick a medic out.
Well, that's why we always we're like, hey, stay back here for now. Mm-hmm. We'll call you if we need you, and then you go in and do your job. But like, we don't want you to be like noticed.
Yeah.
Because like we all look the same generally. Like we all have our gear on a certain way and whatever, blah blah blah. But like we always just did that, and the medics were like, "Well, I just want to get out there and like not in theater necessarily, but like in training and shit."
Well, that's
like,
how a lot of people actually found medics in Afghanistan, is because people would be like, "Hey, stay back," and it's the one guy that's wearing slightly different stuff, and that's who would get shot.
Well, no, we would put them in a place where nobody could see them.
Yeah.
Like, because we knew it's like you get your aid bag on you.
The Taliban was watching you all the time.
Well, that's exactly. And it's like, okay, we're going to throw that guy or just say, don't dismount. You stay in the fucking vehicle. If we had vehicles, the Humvees and shit, we'd be like, stay in there. Do not dismount until we need you. Okay? And it's like, so therefore nobody knows, the target until it's required. And thank Christ, we didn't have to go through that shit, but like,
and we didn't have a lot of that. The hills have eyes, like Afghanistan did.
Oh, well, dude,
Yeah,
here's the thing
places
is,
for sure, but
is like, you know, I've talked about this a lot with, you know, GWAT vets as well. Like,
yeah.
if somebody came here and I thought they were invading my country, all that shit, I'd do the same shit.
No,
I'd
they can have it. This place is a dump.
well, no, but like, you know, the idea of like having eyes on everything
Yeah.
all the time and learning patterns and
They
you know
sure
whatever.
did fucking watch. I can't tell you how many people we found dead. You're going through and they all have notebooks and like little scraps of paper and stuff that are of all these intricate drawings and writings and distancing and tons of shit on it. And it's like everybody had something like that. And
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah, and
fucking
it's
5-year-old children had fucking notebooks on them with shit they were writing down shapes and stuff. You know?
well, like when I was talking to Don, they would have people working, like local Vietnamese people working on their base, and they would catch them doing a pace count
Yeah.
to like target, you know, bracket and artillery and shit and like mortars and stuff. And it's like, well, that's yeah, whatever. But like, anyway, bottom line is we did the best we could with what we had, and thank Christ it didn't go worse. You know, and
Yeah.
you know, it's like some people, some units, you know, some people I talked to, like they had a rough fucking go, but their it seems like their structure was very similar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ, thank Christ we didn't go through the shit they did, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, if you would have had a build more like what we had, you probably would have been, those people probably would have been slightly better off.
What people?
The Americans.
Um,
Because you'd have more medics, you'd have grenadiers that actually are doing their job.
yeah, but
You'd have a lot more
it's
designated
so fucking
marksmen.
bloated. It's so over bloated. Like,
Yeah. You'd have a lot more designated marksmen. Because
yeah,
only a third of your squad is regular infantry guys.
yeah, and that's the thing is like in the U.S. military when I was in, they knew who was a good shot in the platoon. Like that was, and they would, you know, if things arose, they'd be like, all right, you go and do this.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like there was no other equipment. It was just a standard regular M4s and saws and whatever. And it wasn't like, you know, and yeah, so that's weird. Like that I'm saying that, like, so first and third squads, infantry guys,
You're
blah,
learning all the
saws.
shortcomings even down at the lowest level.
But you know, and then fourth squad, weapon squad, it was just two 240s, and then the teams, no DMR,
Yeah.
no nothing, and
You're
then
missing a
your
bunch of stuff, and, like,
your medic,
and
it's a
even the
different
rifle
medic.
squad didn't have DMRs until the Global War on Terror. They put it in every squad because they saw the value of it.
Right, and we were just like, well, you've got iron sights or whatever, and you'll be all right.
You know how awesome having that like variable zoom optic was for just seeing shit, confirming stuff, doing things, even if they're not shooting, just to look.
Yeah, and I know,
And having
and
somebody
yeah,
that can make a shot that's like 4 times the distance than what the little 5.56 is capable of. You
Yep.
know,
no, I get that, but it's like the U.S. was so fucking over bloated in its size.
The U.S. is kind of like, you know, I compare the U.S. to China a lot. The U.S. is a horde army, like it really is. It's throw bodies at a problem. It really is in the end.
Well, no,
no, they do.
They do,
They don't
but like
have as many people to throw away, but they
yeah, it's not as
bodies.
drastic. I just disagree with you. It's not as drastic because what the military does in general is they'll take the Marine Corps and they'll throw them into the worst shit. They'll fuck everything up, which they do, and then they'll send the army in
to occupy space
and clean up, and it's like, all right.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll raise you one other thing. Did you know that there's only like 3 massive like armies in history that have ever done a thing called a surge, and they're the Chinese, the Russians, and the Americans? Because the U.S. is a horde. They're a horde military.
Right, and that's what it was. Like that was
Throw
the
equipment
idea.
and throw people to
Right.
fill the hole.
That's when I joined. It was during the surge, and it's
Yeah.
like, so I understand that, but like, and then it's funny because when they didn't need it anymore, they were
Yeah.
just like, oh well, all right, we're gonna start finding reasons to get you the fuck out.
hmm They're literally throw materials and men to fill the hole.
Right, and that's what they did in Iraq and Afghanistan, and fucking
What they've done
Vietnam,
for
and
almost all their wars. Yeah, they just
yeah,
throw people at it. They're a horde army. They're no different than China and Russia in the end.
nope, we just produce shit a lot quicker. That's it.
hmm You get nicer stuff and you have a lot more of it, but that's about it.
But yeah, I mean, if you really look at it like that, it is. It's like
The U.S. And like that's the thing where it's like you get these three big countries, the three world superpowers, Russia, China, and America.
Yeah.
They have in the end the same tactics and the same doctrine because ultimately they have shit to waste. Other countries don't have manpower and material to waste like those three countries do.
Yeah, and that was the problem. Is like they didn't.
You do quality over quantity.
They
whereas
didn't give a
America
flying
does
fuck
quantity
about
over
us.
quality.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but
And they're like they didn't care about us. They still don't. And it's like,
no.
and
But it pays off because even Napoleon found out. My favorite quote of his: "Quantity has a quality all its own."
it does for sure. But like, here's the thing: is like the U.S. military. So say just fucking hyperbolically, we pull everybody back from all these foreign bases we got people at, right?
The US
Germany,
couldn't physically
Korea,
even handle all that.
right? But say we do that, and somebody tries to like come invade North America. Well, they're fucked. Right now, they might have a chance because our military is spread so fucking thin. It's smaller than it's been in a while, and it's spread all over the world. And it's just like I don't know, but like I believe, like I've told you this in person and all that shit, but like I believe that if we had our military just here and not meddling in other countries or nations or people's um, issues, nobody would fuck with us.
Yeah.
But now
From
they
a
feel they
defensive
can.
standpoint.
What?
But like now, what if the U.S. has to do like what they've always been doing, where we get attacked from somebody on the other side of the globe? How do we get people there quickly?
We've already got that established, though. That's my point.
That's
Is
the
like,
thing. That's the reason why we have all these bases everywhere, so we can get everywhere quickly.
well, we can get everywhere quickly. We just don't have the bases there to make it more convenient.
Pretty much, we can get everywhere, get tons of people to anywhere in the world in a day. But
Yeah.
even without all of our big bases, but it sure makes it a hell of a lot easier.
Well, here's the thing: is the U.S. military is really good on one thing that most militaries are okay at is logistics.
Yeah.
Because most of the military is not combat arms. It's
For sure.
You know,
we got to have
it's
the
about, dude, the entire military, all 6 branches, right?
Yeah.
About 5% of those are actually combat arms,
Mhm.
right? Of that, about 10% of those 5%
Yeah.
actually see combat.
True.
Okay. So the rest of the entire military is logistics. And the US, I will toot our own horn, very good at logistics. Very good.
Better
As
than
shitty-
everyone else, I would
No,
say.
as shitty as it is,
Yeah.
compared to other people, like you just said,
Mhm.
we can get an entire division, the 82nd. We can get them there within 24 hours.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world.
But like the cool thing about the U.S. having all these bases, it allows you to have shock value because you can get people there now instead of 24 hours. It takes 5.
The flight time doesn't change. It's just a matter of how many supplies they're.
They have all these bases for that shock value. They do, and the reason that's there,
and I get that. Yes,
it keeps people from being able to set up as many defenses. You can claw out a foothold with these people before needing to, because if the U.S. was just in the U.S., that 24 hours is now time to secure and fortify.
I get that.
If you have
I understand
5
that.
hours away, it's throwing a wrench into the works. It's not going to do a ton, but it throws a wrench into the works.
I get it, but it also
it's a thing we really don't need.
I don't want to be one of those countries that
Well, we
is
shouldn't
like,
be the world police. We don't need that.
well, and also like scaring people and like going, it's like gangster tactics, right?
It is gangster tactics.
You know, where it's like, oh, if you don't fuck around with, this area or whatever, we'll be okay, but we're gonna stay here. We're gonna
Yeah,
watch.
we're gonna stay right here. And then if you do
And it's
fuck
like,
around, we're right here. And unfortunately, right here is everywhere.
exactly. And that so it's like, I don't think the U.S. should be spread out as much as it is around the world, because it's like
the Department of Defense for a reason.
Right. And we can, what was Department of War forever, but like we can, like you said, deploy multiple big units of hard-hitting troops to anywhere in the world, whether we have a base there or not. The base thing just means that, they might have more food and supplies for another day or two.
You can facilitate a transaction easier if you have a base.
Easier, but it's not the way, like just the 82nd alone, right?
Yeah.
If they said, because like when you're in the 82nd, you can't go a certain distance off, or you have to always
be ready to deploy within a certain amount of time.
It's a rapid, what the fuck is it called? A
rapid response.
Yep. And so they're on that. They can be anywhere and fucking shit up with or without prior established bases in wherever the fuck they go. They could do that within, I don't know if it's 24, I think it's like 18. Like they could be on the ground.
The U.S. has those rapid response units, and it's like the Rangers and the 82nd and 101st Airborne. And
101st is not part of that.
And then you have 10th Mountain. They're a rapid response unit.
Are they?
Yes,
I don't think
are.
they are. I don't think they are.
No, they are. At a Fort Drum? Yeah.
Can you just look that up really quick? I don't think I think the only Army Rapid Response Forces are the SF, the Rangers, and then the 82nd. And the Marines have, I think, first, or was it second Mardiv? One of those two. I think it's first Mardiv.
Yes, the 10th Mountain Division is a rapid response mobility enabled unit. So
okay, so they're the same as the 82nd. Okay.
Yep.
And but there's not a lot of those units. But here's the thing: is
there's
just
only
those units alone,
6 or 7 of them.
Right. Well, with the Marine Corps and the Air Force and all that shit.
Well, the U.S. has rapid response units on the West Coast as well as on the East Coast. So.
Let's just say first Mardiv. I'm pretty sure first Mardiv is a rapid response force. They're on the West Coast, and the Navy's got a lot of that shit too. But they're kind of like the Air Force, except they become more. It's mainly logistics of like, okay, well, we've got this fucking entire Marine Division or the 82nd Airborne or the 10th Mountain. How the fuck do we get them over there? Oh, the Air Force and the Navy are going to be there to facilitate that.
Yeah.
Logistics wise. And they can also do combat, but their job is mainly logistics, which again, like getting back to what I was originally saying, is most of the military deals with logistics to get those people, the fighting forces, somewhere, and then be able to constantly supply them. Because here's the thing is, yeah, if you deploy the 82nd to, we'll just say fucking Turkmenistan or whatever hypothetical, probably never going to happen thing. You deployed them, okay. They'll go there. Their job is to fuck shit up. Go in there and shoot bullets, shoot munitions, take over the fucking objective, and neutralize that shit. Okay, well, that lasts about 3 days tops with what you've got. Tops. I mean, 3 days is a long time to go on a combat load with all that shit. And if you're conservative with your ammunition and whatever, 3 days tops. Unless you have logistics behind you going, well, okay, we'll figure out how to get you ammo, figure out how to get you food, water, all that shit. So the actual fighting force has about 3 days tops. But as it's been proven, we can prolong that for as long as we need to.
Mm-hmm. As long as those 5 big companies can keep making shit.
Yep. There you go. That's, yeah. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, because, yeah, our fighting forces are good. Like it's okay. Like we're decent at going in and fucking shit up. But that would not be possible at all past 3 days, in my opinion, without logistics, which is most of the military. And even with that, it's still a crapshoot, you know, because it's like, well, how do you get the supplies there? And they're creative. Like they've proven themselves to be very creative. Oh, we'll just do this. We'll just do a fucking no touch supply drop on the fucking little airfield that you kind of made.
Yeah.
We'll just go drop a shitload of stuff off. You got another 4 days. Good to go. You know?
Even if you need to, you don't even need a runway. You can just shove shit out of a fucking helicopter.
Well, exactly. But then it falls in the wrong place. But like that never happened.
Some of the bullets are going to get kind of bent. It's fine.
Yeah. But no, it's like, you know, yeah, our fighting forces are great. It's good shit. But
Gotta use them horde tactics.
What?
Horde tactics. That's why we're so great.
Yeah, but hordes get shot down easily.
Yeah, but you just have more people. That's how it works.
Well, more people means more food or water.
Not if they're dying at a consistent rate.
Right. But you know what I mean? Like it's if you have the 300 from Thermopylae, the whole story.
Plus
that
the
whole thing.
1,000.
They died.
Yeah, and
They had no supplies. It was like, we're done. We're fucked. We're gonna fight. And that's how it would go, I think, if the US had no way to like supply the people who are going there, the rapid response forces. Like it's like they're gonna die. Like whether it's starvation, you know, dehydration, whatever you want to call it, like you gotta keep that up. And other militaries try, like I've seen like videos and like things on like other militaries, like their logistic support and everything. It's okay, but it's like the US, I think, has it figured out better than everyone else, and that's not saying a lot.
no.
You know, it's like there's so many problems like with that. But
Well, I'm crashing pretty hard. It's been over 3
me
hours.
too. I'm getting fucking. Oh my god, it's 10:30. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So, all right, dude. What the fuck is the keyword for this week or this stream?
Museum director.
Museum director. All right, so if you're watching this, ex post facto museum director, because Jimmy's one of those.
Yep.
So, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you in the next stream.